hear gunshots going off, and then it became actually worse. It just was non-stop for almost like 5 minutes going on. Then I thought it was gangsters against gangsters or whatever. This is the first time in almost 50 years that we hear something like this, all new to us. But this was a terrible situation.
The New Development Bank has granted Transnet a 5 billion rand loan for the modernization and improvement of South Africa's freight rail sector. The loan agreement was signed during the opening ceremony of the bank's 9th annual general meeting in Cape Town. The aim of the NDB is to assist BRICS member countries and other emerging markets to develop their economies by providing finance for infrastructure development projects. This is the third loan that Transnet is getting from the NDB since 2016. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says South Africa is looking at the bank for assistance, particularly in the current slow economic growth climate.
Infrastructure is an enormous economic multiplier, provide dividends for an economy long after the infrastructure has been built. We believe that the NDB's activities in developing an emerging market will assist in addressing the large infrastructure finance gaps that has been impeding economic growth and development, particularly in Africa.
Land Reform Minister Mzanele Nyonto has raised concerns about communities that fail to utilize the land they successfully claim. He handed over land to members of the Bomoshe community in the northwest after they lodged a claim in December 1998. The community has received more than 600 hectares of land worth 381 million rand. Nyonto has pleaded with the beneficiaries to fully utilize the land.
We cannot overemphasize that productivity of land is a primary factor in reducing poverty and tackles excessive cost of living. We cannot continually give access to land for it to lie idle. Among the farming community, we understand only 20%, which is under 7,000 of the commercial farmers, have above average output and produce 80% of food. We have Bomoshe CPA to be part of this 20%.
In response, the Tlhokokolo Community Property Association, which represents the beneficiaries, has promised to ensure that the land is used wisely. Chairperson Lindiwe Nuko.
We don't want the land to be there without use. We're going to utilize our land. We're going to cut lands for all 52 families. And we're going to make sure they are going to work on that land. We're going to do something in that land. If we do agriculture, we'll do agriculture, we'll do business,
And the Israeli military says that a senior local Hamas commander was among 3 Palestinians killed as a major Israeli operation continues in the occupied West Bank. Witnesses say Israeli undercover forces tried to detain Wasim Khazem and 2 other men in a village near Jenin. When they tried to flee, their car was hit by an Israeli drone. The BBC's Yolanda Nell.
This is now in its 3rd day, this major Israeli operation. Israel says it's for counter-terrorism purposes. And we know that from witnesses, Israeli troops seem to have pulled out of one of the cities which was a main focus for tension, Tulkarem in the north of the West Bank. And now attention seems to be really just focused on Jenin. And I've had colleagues there telling me that they can hear sporadic gunfire and explosions.
The top story at 3 o'clock, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu says crime in South Africa has increased in 4 out of the 9 provinces from April to June this year. For SAFM News,
in sports this hour, Springboks #1 world ranking under threat and NPBPA welcome Minister Gayton McKenzie's progressive decision. More details at 3:30.
This Women's Month, celebrate the incredible strength, resilience, and achievements of women with our Empower Her Voice of Strength campaign. Join SAFM as we highlight inspiring stories, share valuable insights, and promote gender equality. Tune in for special segments, powerful interviews, and daily inspiration. Together, let's uplift and empower women everywhere. Be part of the movement. Hashtag Empower Her. Hashtag Voices of Strength. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The National Lottery keeps creating winners with over 29 billion rand in total payouts since Ituba became the official operator of the National Lottery in 2015. The next big winner could be you. Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 88 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Zonga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
You know, if I had to suggest today just one theme that moves the National Pulse, and if I look at the type of conversations we'll be having, then, you know, sadly, it's all about crime, because somewhere or the other, it is about crime in the country, crime in various towns, crime in various cities, and how some cities, like the city of Joburg, are attempting to revitalize itself because, in spite of crime, that means the impact of crime has had on that city. So crime is a focus, not planned by us. That's just a reality as we reflect on what it is that impacts the National Pulse today, right? You can call in. My name is Ashraf Garda. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the National Pulse, right? And to call in, it's 086 000 2032. Maybe let me put this to you right away, okay? Forget about the stats and the numbers, okay? I want to personalize it. Tell me how crime has affected you. You know, either directly by actual crime, when means, you know, something's happened to you or your family, and I hope that would not be the case. But even if it's not happened to you and you're not affected like that, you're still affected just by having the type of anxiety that we all have in our country. So in that sense, it will always affect us no matter what. For example, you know and I know there's no way you can walk at 10 o'clock at night in any part of South Africa. I don't think so, not at all, right? And that's one example, because that's normal in many, many other countries in the world. So share your thoughts. I certainly would like to know. You can also WhatsApp us, 0614 104 107, and that's voice notes, and you can also text us too if you wish to tell us what impact has crime had on your life, on your own personal psyche, on your personal pulse, basically, whatever that means, right? And for those listening, wherever you may be, in whichever city, in town, dorpy, all around the country, you can certainly connect with me by just telling us where you are, right? Also around the world, where are you listening from? What are you doing right now? I'd love to know. Just probably the best way to do that, post it on social media, on the X platform. Just tweet it out to us. Hashtag the National Pulse. But also, if you just WhatsApp, we'll pick it up right away. And talking about WhatsApp, you know the story. We have the issue of the National Pulse WhatsApp chat channel, that is. You can join that channel. Just say join channel. By the way, Naledi Pandor is my guest coming up after 5 o'clock as part of the every Friday fireside chat we have. Last week we had Felicia Mabusa Subtle. The week before it was Alan Busaki, if I'm not mistaken. Then Dr. Mampela Rampela. Many different people we talk. Today we talk to Naledi Pandor. Now I'll tell you what. Reflecting on, we should be chatting. In fact, what we'll do is let me do this. The Premier of Gauteng has been speaking extensively around some of the issues about revitalizing Johannesburg, and he's made the point that no matter what the investment is, if you're unable to sort out the issues of crime and the city being an unsafe city, you will not only not get investment, whatever you have, there's a capital flight that does occur. This is what he said.
Who we need to execute this particular plan are not ready. But I'm now convinced after what you knew, that you are indeed ready to execute this task. And the mission is very simple. It's to reclaim what belongs to South Africans, which is the CBD. We can't donate this CBD to criminals. We can't allow criminals to take over our CBD. And we must ensure that this CBD comes back as an economic activity of our province. We are determined as a province to pump lots and lots of investment here. But everyone that we invite to come and invest here, they say crime and markings are the things that makes things difficult for them. So today we want to demonstrate. It's not about the soccer match alone. It's a or the rugby match. It's a continuous process of reclaiming this particular city, bit by bit, block by block, until we have taken it over. We can't take it over overnight. It's a process. You need to work very hard. And I want to urge you, be the representative that will make us proud. Don't attract negativity, attract positivity. Be supported by South Africans, but be scared by those that are doing illegal things in our province. So I want to wish you well for this weekend. Be determined, be upright, be committed, so that by the time we take stock of the work that we've done in this area, all of us can be proud that we did something. You must be visible. You must ensure that everything that you do yields the results that you want to reclaim this city. We made a commitment that this city will be back in the hands of South Africans. This city will be back in the hands of entrepreneurs who want to run businesses here. This city will be back to those that want to adhere to the laws of this country. We can't have lawlessness, vandalism, and everything where people believe they can do as they wish. So you are the front team that must lead us. And I have all the confidence in you and your leadership that you'll indeed be visible. You'll indeed execute your task.
So what do you make of that pronouncements by the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, regarding the city of Johannesburg? Are you convinced that that he's on track? I mean, two things is the will, the political will to wanting to fix up, well, arguably South Africa's richest city, which is not so rich anymore. All the glitter just is not seen. And I love my city, and I'm saying that that's true. So what do you think about that? What do you think would their plans be? Would it be implemented? And would it finally work, keeping in mind so many of the buildings in the city of Joburg? I'm talking of downtown. They are no-go areas. Well, there are comments. Clearly, there are many people who wanting to talk. Another saying, in terms of me asking that question about where you are, good afternoon. I stay in Windsor Park, Kraaifontein, Cape Town. I regularly walk late at night without any issues, coming from Emil. Emil, you are one of the most fortunate people in the world, and I pray that stays with you just like that, right? There are more. There's some other comments as well. Panyaza, less all talk, he lies all the time. Beats me why people still listen to him, coming from someone called Madiba. Let's see if we can play some of those voice notes. But I'll tell you what, would you like to comment on that? One, I spoke about the city of Joburg, but not just Joburg. I'm very interested in the impact crime has had on you on a very, very personal level, right? So I pray that as I talk to you that you've not ever been a victim of crime. The stats suggest otherwise. It could be you, your family, your extended family, someone in your community, your friends. What I'm interested in is not so much the crime numbers, just the psychological and the mental impact that crime has had on your life. That means the things you do and the things you don't do only because of crime. The things you do, the things you do not do, only because of crime. I'll give you one example. I mean, I'm at the SABC Auckland Park, right? And my son. He's probably listening. Shaquille will be listening. You know, historically, he's like pretty chilled about, these type of security issues until he got held up in Auckland Park a few months ago. Gunpoint, and they robbed him with his mobile phone, etc. Now, sometimes he picks me up when I need to go home. Sometimes I'll bring my own car, but often when he does, he will miscall me when he's a minute away from downstairs at the SABC, so that I must not keep him waiting for more than a minute. That's not because he's impatient. It's an anxiety that's completely caused by being a victim of crime. It's that sort of thing. So how has crime changed you in terms of your attitude to life? I really want to know from you. And let's take some of the calls. We'll certainly get keys to sort of monitor the calls. 086 000 2032. We should be chatting in a short while to the representative from Gauteng, from the city of Joburg as well, around safety and security in that province. That comes up shortly. But there's some WhatsApp voice notes that I also want to play that I think you need to hear.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I think the government now realized their mistake since from 1994, allowing every black person from every country to come here as a kind of Ubuntu and whatever they were thinking. See, let's hope this city will be back to its original glory, city of Johannesburg, where we grew up, visiting and enjoying everything ourselves, being safe. Let's hope this project will last. This is Moraka Tafloko Limpopo.
Okay, there we are. You see that there's a sense of, I'm not saying, as you said, letting every black person come in. Listen, we don't even know who's behind crime. There are so many crime syndicates around the country, and we see some people at the interface, the public interface, but there are lots of other mafia types who actually run it. So it's different people, different colors, different creeds, different religions. Believe me, it affects you across the board, and it is driven by people across the board as well. We've got some more calls. Let's get some further thoughts on this. I'm really interested in how crime has affected your personal psyche. Stan, do I have you there in PE? Hi, Stan. Now, in fact, what we'll do, we'll get Stan right after this.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's Elimination Week and the bottom 6 must bake their ultimate cookie and milkshake pairing. It's a match made in heaven, but will they perfect their flavor combinations under pressure? Take part in the weekly viewers competition and stand a chance of winning a classic stand mixer to the value of 10,000 Rand. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
It's Truck Month at Ford, and that means one thing. You save big when you upgrade to a 4x4. Get a Ford Ranger Wildtrak 4x4 Auto Double Cab for only 12,999 per month with 0% deposit. That's only 12,999 per month with free 4x4 driver training at your nearest Ford dealer today. T&Cs apply.
Only the final whistle can reveal who are the real football kings of East Africa. Neighbors won't get along during the East African Derby. This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Tanzania takes on Ethiopia on Wednesday, 4 September at 6 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, what we'll do is we're going to chat about the goings on in the city of Joburg. We'll do that shortly. We are waiting to connect to Jacob Mamabolo, the MEC for cooperative governance in the region. But for now, let's get to the Global Watch feature. So today, the Defence Minister of the European Union, the ministers, that is, of the European Union, are convening for an informal meeting in Brussels. The reason, we understand, is that the ministers will discuss the EU's military support for Ukraine, the military crisis management and defence readiness of the EU and defence financing. This meeting largely extends the foreign affairs ministers' meetings that took place yesterday. So, how important is this? What are the cues that we need to pick out from this in terms of what it means for that region? Professor John Keicher with me, former research director of the Department of Politics and International Studies at the University of Cambridge. Prof. Keicher, appreciate your time. You're connected to the National Pulse.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Give us a backstory in terms of your understanding of the developments that are taking place right now with regard to defence ministers.
Well, perhaps I can preface my remarks with a couple of comments. The first is that this meeting doesn't have a very high profile in Europe at the moment anyway, depending on the kind of decisions that might be taken. The second thing to say is that the EU has been divided, the 27 nations that make up the European Union has been divided on these essential issues that you've just outlined now, Ukraine and the Middle East, for some time. And so the discussions that take place today are likely to be, let's say, rather dissonant amongst the members who will be there. Certainly Ukraine will be discussed because there have been new developments in Ukraine, such as the Kursk offensive, the Ukrainians taking a new strategic angle by attacking Russia itself, and also because of Russia attacking Ukraine more directly, in fact attacking most of its power systems in the hope that it can reduce its resilience by the time winter comes round. And then there's the question of the Middle East, and I can say a few words about that if you wish.
I think, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, well, on the Middle East, there are also divisions amongst the European Union members. Some are far more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, such as Ireland, such as Spain, than others, such as maybe France or perhaps even Germany. And so the divisions are going to be fairly stark in this defence ministers' meeting. And there are important issues which are at stake, of course, that we all know about. The new Israeli offensive into the West Bank is of considerable concern to the European Union, which, like other nations or groups of nations, fears that this could all spread and the conflict become more wide-ranging across the whole of the Middle East. And then add into that the question of Iran, and that makes it even more sensitive.
Well, absolutely it is. I suppose maybe if we fast forward to whenever that future is, what impact will the decisions and the convening of these defense ministers have on all the things you've just said? You know, one thing is talking, but do you see tangible results of actual impact, good or bad? I understand there's different perspectives on this thing, good or bad, that will happen as a result of it?
Well, if I'm utterly candid, I'd say that I'm not expecting any important strategic decisions really to be made. I think there's going to be a lot of sort of window dressing. I don't think that anything very serious is going to happen. One question that will be raised is whether Ukraine should be allowed to use long-range strategic weapons that have been given to it by the United States, France, Britain, and a number of other countries, whether they should be able to use those against Russia itself, against the country of Russia, as opposed to Russian forces in Ukraine or around the areas of Ukraine.
What about, I mean, in recent weeks, what has come through is what appears to be a slightly more aggressive military position by the Ukraine. How significant is that?
I think that's very significant. It's significant for two reasons. One is because over the last 3 months or so, people have become extremely pessimistic about Ukraine's ability to win this war, and even to stay in a position that doesn't dilapidate it considerably. And this new offensive that the Ukrainians have taken, where they actually have attacked into Russia, has changed the game somewhat. And it means that now it is Russia that is, to a certain extent, on the defensive. And President Putin, who has constantly suggested that the Ukraine war is having no impact on Russia whatsoever, will now have to explain to his people why it is that there are several thousand Ukrainian troops who have entered into Russia's motherland and are attacking it fairly consistently and are several hundred kilometers into the country.
It does beg the question, which I suppose has been asked often, you know, what is the power, if not, well, the military power and then the perception of power of NATO?
Well, it depends how you look at what NATO can do. Whether you look at all that it could do potentially, and of course it can do an awful lot, because within NATO there are 3 nuclear powers, France, Britain, and of course the United States of America. But on the other hand, NATO is, rather like the European Union, divided amongst its members about how far it should go in helping Ukraine. And this is becoming particularly sensitive as we approach the American elections, where if it looks as though either Donald Trump or perhaps now increasingly the Democrats win, then either of those is going to be less gung-ho, it seems, about helping Ukraine than perhaps President Biden has been up until now.
How you touched on Iran earlier on, and you know what Iran did or did not do, particularly when there were issues about attacks on leading Iranian members of Iran, and then of course the Hamas leader who happened to be in Iran at the time. But those attacks to the level that we've been promised, if I can say that in inverted commas, hasn't quite happened. I mean, what do you read into that?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of questioning amongst defence ministries across the whole of the European Union, of course, and Britain, and also the United States about how and if Iran will, in fact, retaliate. It has sent out some indirect messages that it could, however, attenuate its position if talks were perhaps begun again over nuclear issues. So there's a lot of backdoor channels that are being opened up around this issue. And of course, there is also the prospect that Iran may provide ballistic missiles to Russia. That's something that's being talked about. So there's a kind of trading background corridor trading that's going on at the moment, and nobody quite knows exactly what it's going to deliver.
And there we shall see. What about we're coming up to now 1 year almost, I think, with just a month and a bit to go from that, from the Hamas attack on Israel itself, right? And then what has happened subsequently, right? So again, going back to your original point, you know, the conversations that take place, whether they happened in the European Union or between the USA and of course South Africa's position is well known. Again, how much influence does it ultimately have?
How much influence does who have?
Well, the different political and military groupings around the world, it's mainly political groupings, I would think, right, has in terms of possibly stopping and creating a settlement in that region?
Well, I think we only have to look at the timeline that you've already given, which is 1 year, coming up for a year anyway. And it seems then that the influence of other states on Israel is a lot less than we sometimes think it is. Even the United States is, at various occasions, astonished by some of the things that Israel does. And so I think we need to be a little bit wary about the pressure that we can always put on Israel. And I think sometimes the United States of America is itself wary of the kind of ultimate pressure that it can put on Israel. Because Israel, in the end, it believes, is fighting for its existence. Mm-hmm. And it is at that level the stake for Israel. And therefore, whether it loses friendships with certain other countries is by the way.
And that's where we shall leave it. Professor John Kaicher, certainly really informative, and I really appreciate your insights that you've shared. We'll probably do it again some other time. Former Research Director of the Department of Politics and International Studies at the University of Cambridge. That is John Kaicher. Let's now get the news headlines. It's 3:30.
Thanks, Ashraf, and a very good afternoon with the news headlines. President Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Milnerton in Cape Town. Nearly 200 million rand has been declared by various political parties between April and June this year, with the DA, IFP, Rise Mzansi and the ANC receiving the lion's share. And an elephant in Myanmar has given birth to twins, a rare event at a sanctuary near Yangon. I'll be back with all those details at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound has a crash reported at Crown Interchange. The M1 northbound has a crash before Oxford Road. The N3 southbound has a crash after Gauteng Interchange. The N3 northbound has a crash near Van Buren Road. In Durban, the N3 eastbound has a stationary vehicle at Cliffdale. The N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle before Mgeni Road. The N2 southbound, a stationary vehicle after the M41 Gateway exit. The N2 southbound has a truck stacking reported towards the R3 for Richards Bay exit with delays possible. In the Free State, the N3 has a crash between Borden and Rates exit. In Cape Town, the M5 northbound, slow moving towards Kuburg Interchange. The M3 northbound is queuing towards Paradise Road. The N1 inbound, slow moving on the elevated freeway. Bacon Cross Street outbound, slow moving towards the elevated freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Kapele.
Right, Tumi, welcome to the show. Once again, let's talk Springboks naturally.
A very good afternoon to you. Well, the Springboks will head into the blockbuster battle against the All Blacks tomorrow, knowing that a win will move them a step closer to the Rugby Championship title. And in terms of the World Rugby rankings, it will also consolidate their position at number 1, or else they'll lose their spot if they can't pull off a positive result. So basically, in all the 4 matches this weekend, the away team will overtake their opponents in the rankings if they win by more than 15 points. Meanwhile, Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus says that they won't be wise if they were to undermine New Zealand.
No, we'll be stupid. If we don't respect them, we'll be bad coaches, we'll be stupid players, we'll be arrogant nation, we'll be quickly put back in our place. At number 6 or 7 is where we started. It's a team that beat England at home. It's a team that lost to Argentina. We've lost to Argentina. It's a team that has lost to Argentina before. It's a team that brought up, we beat them only by 1 point in the World Cup. And so I just think people must understand, although Razor is a fantastic coach and you may be the best coach in the world, and New Zealand is a rugby-mad country. If you lose Richie Mo'unga all of a sudden and the core of your Crusaders players isn't there and you've got a few injuries and you're trying this guy 10, you've got a captain out for the first 2 test matches and you strike Argentina on the wrong day, it's going to be the wrong day. And that doesn't make Razor a bad coach.
Meanwhile, on a lighter tip, Durban's Northwood School has found itself in the global spotlight just once again after its Springbok Rugby War Cry video went viral, amassing millions of views and drawing praise from local and international rugby fans. I'm just going to give you a glimpse of what the kids are saying in terms of preparing you for that matchup between the Springboks and New Zealand. Now, if that doesn't get you in the mood for tomorrow's action, I don't know what else will get you in the mood. But moving on to football, University of Johannesburg ladies coach Ntabeleng Mudigo says that she's expecting a tactical matchup in the Hollywood Bets Super League Gauteng derby against JVW. UJ comes into the fixture on the back of a 1-0 defeat to defending champions Mamelodi Sundowns ladies and will definitely be looking for a quick return to form. Mudigo admits that her youthful side will have to be at their best against Mitchell Stevens' Chargers.
Yeah, I think the upcoming match, the upcoming fixture, no other expectations besides it being a big one, very difficult. very tactical, very demanding. I think it's going to be one where we, as UJ, we need to be at our best in defensively, and also our organization. We do not need to be making any mistakes in terms of flooring it or just letting it go. I think if we can be can be precise in making sure that we pick the right moments to do actions, big actions in the right moments, and also small actions in the right moments as well. I think that's what I'm anticipating with this game. It's going to be a very, very tactical one, very big one.
Elsewhere, defending Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen face the first true test of their title defense when they host RB Leipzig tomorrow. Unbeaten in Germany last season, Xabi Alonso's side have battled to narrow wins in the German German Cup, and in their Bundesliga opener this season. In Leipzig, they face a title rival for the first time. The two league fixtures between the clubs last season proved crucial milestones in Leverkusen's breakthrough title. In boxing, the National Professional Boxing Promoters Association Chairman Ayanda Matete says that they've been vindicated and are elated by Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture Gayton McKenzie's decision to dissolve the Boxing South African Board. The NPBPA have taken the previous minister Zizi-Godwa BSA and suspended acting CEO Mandla Nhlanganiso to court, challenging the litigation of their decisions.
We want to commend the minister for having subjected himself to the rule of law and respected the court order, adhered to the court order, and we think that this is the correct and progressive good stance. It will all give us a fresher perspective of what must happen moving forward. From where we are seated, we are elated that we have been vindicated at last, but we are not happy about the state of boxing as it were today, as a consequence of a very arrogant, outgone ministry that used everything in its power to protect certain individuals and certain agendas. And we're happy that the current minister has said in his own expression that he is not prepared to go down for corruption or to die with other men's sword.
Finally, in tennis, two-time champion Naomi Osaka says that it feels like her heart dies every single time she loses after her US Open comeback ended in a second-round defeat to Karolina Muchova. The 26-year-old claimed her first top 10 victory in 4 years when she beat Jelena Ostapenko in the first round. However, she could not topple Muchova, losing 6-3, 7-6, 7-5 after squandering 3 set points to force a decider. On that note, it's a wrap from my side. I'll have more in the next hour.
So listen, before I let you go, I mean, that's Northwood, right?
Yeah.
The war cry.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick up all the words, but I've seen videos of it. They share magic, right?
Literally. It's
Anything else you want to tell us about it? Because
I think it's amazing. I mean, if you watch that video, they're basically saying green and gold is our flag. 2023, we put the World Cup in our hands. We have Siya Kolisi as our captain. Rassie is our main man, and we are going to beat the All Blacks.
Here's a question.
That's the message.
Here's a serious political question to you. I love those war cries, by the way.
Yep.
Why can't all schools have those war cries for all our sporting teams?
Right.
Like, isn't it obvious? There's a rugby tradition in it.
Yeah.
I know. I certainly know from my time my son went to school. There's that tradition. But like, who said you can't do it in football, in soccer? Who says you can't do it?
In cricket.
Who says maybe cricket takes too long for the whole day to get a big crowd there? But who says you can't do it?
I think it's the culture of the sport.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, when there's a culture, you can borrow a culture.
I guess.
Why can't you learn and say, hold it, is this good for the team?
Listen, in football...
outside of a vuvuzela, what I'm saying, we can borrow from that culture.
In football, they do it in their own way. They sing songs. They don't do war cries like these war cries.
Not in South Africa.
In South Africa, have you ever been to a Bloemfontein Celtic game?
Yeah, but that's the one example. But Bloemfontein
Mamelodi
doesn't
Sundowns
exist
game.
Anymore, you see.
Mamelodi
I know
Sundowns
that.
game.
I mean, they do it brilliantly with their yellow and they really make it.
Yeah.
But it's exceptions to the rule. It's not widespread.
Across the board.
It's not widespread. Yeah. Okay, something to consider. More sport in an hour.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, I need to get your calls. I did ask you about crime, and I'm really interested in the emotional aspect of crime, how crime has changed you. Even if I hope, as I talk to you, that you're not directly affected by crime, as in you've not been a victim, but I'm suggesting even a non-victim is a victim. Just by taking precautions, you're a victim. When you put up a high wall, you're a victim already. Anyway, okay, intercausa rather in Joburg. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf. I've been a victim of a mugging and an attempted hijacking incident. As a result, I don't drive once it gets dark. So my life really revolves around daylight. And if I happen to be on the street and it gets dark, I panic. And I'm afraid that this is also, now getting transferred to my children, because when I drive at night, it just, it stresses everyone. But things that I also want to highlight, that crime at the moment is entrenching gender inequality in South Africa, and is also entrenching unfair patterns of property and land ownership. I say this because as a single woman, I'm afraid to buy a freestanding home because I'm scared of, I don't have protection. I don't have a male in the house to keep me safe. I can't sleep at night if I'm in a freestanding home, and I know that it's likely to get broken in, I'm likely to get raped and such. So it's making us poorer as women, particularly single women. And this is something that really we need to, get a hold of, but also talk about how crime is making women poorer.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, firstly, I'm so sorry about your incident, and I mean, even the attempted hijacking is even worse. And I'm just glad that you survived that, right? And it just shows you. It's a game changer, isn't it? It's a game changer in terms of your attitude to the way you see things, right?
That's true. It is. And even right now, if you look at where most women are buying property, you hear the story, you read in the newspaper, they're celebrating that more women are buying property. But what type of property are they buying? It's in places where they pay additional costs like levies that you don't encounter in freestanding homes. And what happens to women once they retire and are unable to maybe even increase their salaries? So they continue paying levies. That property is never fully theirs. If you compare that to a freestanding home, we really are disadvantaged.
Well, and just lastly, how long ago did your incident occur?
It was more than 10 years ago. That's how long it was.
Sure. So, it's perpetual. It just shows you, it becomes part of your psyche moving forward and affects every decision you make, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, your children, so there's an example. They're not directly affected by crime, as in victims, but they're affected by crime. There's no question about it.
But even my son was mugged recently.
Yeah. Well, there you are. I mean, if we did a survey of people who are affected in some way or the other, and I'm just not even talking about people who've been killed, murdered, assassinated. That's another conversation, just at its very, what we call the lucky crimes. The lucky crimes are when you get mugged and people move on. That's a lucky crime. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yes, the targeting of school kids is even insane.
Yeah, sure. Because I'm sorry about your incident, and I'm glad you called in, because I think that's the type of, understanding the human story around crime that we need to know about. And it's not just stats. There are people behind this, people affected by it. So thank you for that call. Much appreciated. Right? I think maybe I've just lost her for a sec. So there you are. Give that to me. I'm really interested in. We don't talk about this enough. The human factor around crime, how it impacts you, how it affects you, even though you may not be a victim of crime. And goodness, if you are a victim of crime, then that's even doubly so, or tenfold, isn't it? Stan in Port Elizabeth, hi, or Klebega. Hi, Stan.
Hi, Ashraf, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good indeed. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been here since 1996, and I've been fortunate thus far to escape most of the issues that we've been talking about. You don't stop at some robots in dodgy places, you don't go down dodgy streets, you don't leave possessions out on the backseat of the car or whatever. But my work bag got lifted out of the boot of my car down in Port Elizabeth at a place called Dolphin's Leap. I'm just grabbing a fast meal. And as I was pulling into the parking bay, outdoor parking, under to the right, as a guy walked past the car on his phone, like he's perfect on the OT. And as he walked past the car, he unopened, slightly lifted the back door lock of the drive on the passenger side. When I locked the car, when I zapped it and I checked my door, it was locked. I went in, and when I got back to my car, I went home, opened the boot, and my bag was missing. I dashed straight back there, asked God security to try to get all the security cameras. Eventually got them the next day. And my lesson here is an extension of what I've already been practicing is I make sure every door is locked. I don't just walk around make sure my driver's door is locked. I walk around all four doors and the boot as well to make sure they're all locked. The guy got sleight of hand. He walked around the car for 3 or 4 minutes while I was indoors eating on the phone. Didn't look like he was doing anything untoward. And then eventually, when the coast was clear, there's not too many people about, he opened the back door of the car that he'd slightly left off the latch, pulled the back seat down, grabbed the first bag that was in there, and left it. And he just put the bag over his shoulder, and he looked like a perfectly normal, decent guy walking down the street with a PC bag over his shoulder.
Absolutely. But you see there again, another story, and it just shows you we don't talk about this enough. In terms of victims of crime, we look at literal victims, but the fact is, it affects every one of us.
But not only that, in the bag was my passport, my ID book, working papers, laptop with God knows what information's on there, and you report it to police, and it's a needle in a haystack trying to find that laptop in Port Elizabeth. It could be anywhere. Yeah. Even with the Apple, even with an Apple tag in there, just tracking it, I could see where it was for a couple of hours afterwards, and it kept moving. It was way out of town quite quickly, and it was no use to the police the information I was giving them.
Well, there you are.
Although it was registered as a crime, but yeah, it changed my behaviour. I leave work, I go home, I put the bag, lock it up in my office at home behind the gate. And if I go out again, I never go out with anything of value in the boot of the car at all. Well, it's an extension of the behaviours I've been applying since I've been here.
Okay, got that. Thank you for that again. Sorry for your experiences and again how it actually changes you. But Stan, thanks for that. Let's get other thoughts on that. I'm really focusing. We should have been speaking to two different representatives from the ANC regarding crime issues. There's some issues that they're putting on hold. There's some reasons why they're not talking to us quite yet, and they will do that as soon as they can. But it doesn't mean we can't talk about the general issues about crime, particularly the human story behind crime. On two levels. The one is the victim, and the other is also the perpetrator. And let me say this much: have you ever been a perpetrator of crime yourself? And what's come out of that? When I'm assuming now you're out of prison, for example. What's come out of that, and how has that changed you? In that case, too, I certainly would like to know. You can voice note us 0614 104 107, call in 086 000 2032.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, let's talk about another issue regarding developments. We talked about the development of Joburg. What about Alexandra or Alex Township, right? So President Ramaphosa, you may be aware, he apologized in Parliament yesterday on the promise he made in April 2019 of building 1 million houses in Alex. Now, the EFF says his apology confirms that his tenure has been characterized by lies, false promises, and electioneering using the struggles of ordinary people. Okay, so let's do this. Firstly, we have on the line with us Sinawo Tambo, who's an EFF MP. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, and greetings to your listeners.
Thank you. I thought before we get talking, let's hear this clip.
In April 2019, I spoke to the residents of Alexandra about the challenges that they faced. I made reference to a program for the whole of South Africa to build 1 million houses. It is quite clear from the recording of what I said that these houses were not just for Alexandra. There is simply not enough space in Alexandra to be able to develop and even approach the scale that would amount to 1 million. Housing in Alexandra has long been a challenge. Many people continue to move to Alexandra due to its proximity to economic opportunities. This strains existing resources and increases housing demand. There is lack of available land for development in and around Alexandra itself. This is made worse by the land invasions and the growth of informal settlements. Under these conditions, the different spheres of government are working together to address the housing challenges in Alexandra. Plans are underway to build approximately 40,000 houses in Frankenwald and in Linksfield.
Okay, that is President Ramaphosa. So whether it was 1 million homes in Alex or 1 million homes throughout the province or the entire country, let's get the thoughts of from the EFF side. So now, what do you make of his apology and correction?
Okay, again, thank you, and greetings to the listeners. As the EFF, we take it as what it is at face value, which was an apology to the people of South Africa for misleading the people of Alexandria and that they'd have 1 million houses built for them. That first part in the clip we just listened to was, of course, the first initial response from Cyril Ramaphosa to the question by the president of the EFF. When you follow the follow-up question, the president of the EFF applies consistent pressure to the president to be a man of integrity and fight within his conscience to admit that he has made a mistake by making a false promise to the people of Alexandria, which Cyril Ramaphosa rightfully did. So he made that apology on the basis of the accountability measures being exercised by the EFF as an organization that is in Parliament to hold the executive accountable. And we note that apology, and we note it as one that should be made amongst many others for many failures of Cyril Ramaphosa during his tenure as a presidency. He made a promise in 2020 through a presidential stimulus program that he'll create 800,000 jobs over 5 years. But only has not created those jobs, it actually created more unemployment, because when he made that promise, the unemployment rate set at 32.5% and now sits at 33.5%. And this is just one of the major misleading and untruths that are fulfilling themselves over a 5-year period in a regressive manner rather than progressive.
So what do you make of, would you say that the intention is deliberate untruth, notwithstanding the apology, or is a case of classically a politician exaggerating things to effectively send the message of, hey, we'll get things done, which many, many politicians do from across the political spectrum?
Look, it was an unnecessary lie. It was a promise based on electioneering, as the statement of the EFF said, because no one provoked him. He promised the people of Alexandria 1 million houses. I don't even know if there's 1 million people in Alexandria, but he made a promise to the people of Alexandria of 1 million houses unprovoked. No one had pressurized him. No one had provoked him into making that concession. But to show you that dishonesty simply thrives as a means of evading accountability, he tries presented as a national plan. The EFF says, okay, let's say you did this and you made that statement with an intention of it being a national plan over 5 years of building 1 million houses in South Africa at a national level. None of that has happened either. So the distortion digs a hole in which Ramaphosa continues to fall. And I think him being surrounded by the sycophants who are surrounding him, people who praise him and don't point out to him what is realistically possible, what is objectively the truth, makes him fall deeper into a hole of lies. As we've seen on social media today, members of the ANC, top-ranking leadership of the ANC, attacking the media, trying to dictate to the media how they should interpret a statement which is verifiable on videotape. So as long as he listens to people like that, he's going to keep lying.
Okay, I hear that. What are your thoughts about, and you're a politician yourself, but the general comment that I've made earlier on that, there are, and I don't have all the facts and figures with me right now, but there are just so many examples. If we did a history of 10 or 20 years, the amount of claims made by politicians about what exists or what they will do, and then how they fail to deliver. And I don't mean Ramaphosa, I mean across the board. What do you make of that? Meaning that, how widespread is that, and what happens when a politician makes these type of claims? What should be done to that person?
I think it's the duty of the electorate to hold politicians accountable to their words. And the EFF was doing that on behalf of its voters in Parliament yesterday. So regardless of which political party makes which commitments, which promises to anyone, the electorate should be able to hold politicians accountable through their public representatives in this instance, or secondly through their vote, which was available most recently in the elections and will be available again in 2026. Hopefully the people of Alexandria were listening to someone try and skirt their way through and twist and turn from the accountability of the promise he made 5 years ago of building 1 million houses in Alex, which now he says the people of Alex misheard. He apologized because he knew he made that promise. He didn't apologize as a measure to try and be a sly politician. But of course he realizes that those praise singers around him will put him under immense pressure for conceding this. So we need an electorate that holds leadership accountable for its promises. We need public representatives who exercise their duty of holding the executive accountable in all legislative spheres.
And certainly from an EF's point of view, to be able to call the president to account is exactly what an opposition party ought to be doing, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we're glad that this was able to once again be exhibited on national platforms such as Parliament, which we have raised to be an arena where the public should tune in and watch the executive being held accountable as the EFF. So we're continuing a tradition which we started. When we entered Parliament, we held Zuma accountable for the Nkandla saga. We've been holding Ramaphosa accountable for Marikana. We've been holding ministers accountable for the energy crisis, for collapsing railway infrastructure, for lack of water, for lack of fighting against gender-based violence meaningfully. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind listeners that it was Ramaphosa in 2020 who promised that there'd be a national register of GBV offenders available to the public in over 5 year periods. That 5 years has lapsed. This does not exist. He promised that there'd be a review of GBV cases that were improperly handled over the next 5 years from 2020 to now. This has not happened. And he promised that all police stations in South Africa would have rape kits. And currently, as we stand here, there's 40,000 under supply of rape kits in police stations in South Africa. So we must be able to hold people accountable to their word, and the EFF is going to continue doing that.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Thank you for your time. Sinao Tambo certainly got us thinking about many of the issues around promises made, promises not kept, or exaggerated promises that distorts things to the electorate or to communities, in this case here, the community of Alex. Sinao Tambo from the EFF and MP there. Much appreciate your time. Right, I'll pick out your calls. I certainly want to do that. And lots of people want to talk about crime, absolutely, in terms of how it impacts on you personally. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Majupi.
Thank you very much, Ashraf Garda. The top story is the Sawa. Ramaphosa welcomes the arrests of extortionists and rare twin elephants born in Myanmar. A very good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Milnerton in Cape Town. 4 others were killed in the area last night during a shootout with the police. 4 other suspects were wounded and are under police guard in hospital. Ramaphosa was speaking at the signing of a cooperation agreement between all spheres of government to combat crime in Cape Town.
What that meant is that we are now taking the war against those who extort money. We are taking the war against the construction mafia. We are taking the war against gangsters. We are now going to take you on and make sure that you are brought justice. The gangsters are tearing our communities apart, and this is costing innocent lives. Businesses are being forced, and they are now tired because they are being forced to pay protection fees and of being under siege from criminals who are destroying their businesses.
Crime in South Africa has increased in 4 out of the 9 provinces from April to June this year. This is according to Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who released the latest crime stats for the fourth quarter of 2023-24 and the first quarter of 2024-25. The Eastern Cape leads with murders at 17%, followed by the Western Cape with 15% and KZN at 12.3%. Gauteng and Limpopo stand at 8.3% and 3.3% respectively. Mchunu says extortion for so-called protection fees is a disturbing criminal phenomenon.
It's criminals who are involved in this, why they are getting attracted to this, the way it is happening. But ours is to deal with them, whether they are increasing or decreasing. We just don't want anybody to extort money from anybody. It's a crime. That is what people must know. It is a crime, and it's a crime that we're going to be dealing with.
The Nelspruit Regional Court in Mpumalanga has sentenced a 42-year-old pastor Dumisani Khumalo to life imprisonment. In June this year, the court found Khumalo guilty of raping a 14-year-old girl at a sports field in Kabokweni 4 years ago. Khumalo offered the minor and her friend a lift to a local shopping complex. Upon arrival, he requested the victim to remain in the car and instructed her friend to go inside the shop. Khumalo then sped to the sports field where he committed the crime. The NPA's Monica Nyuswa says they welcome the sentence.
The sentence imposed on the accused is the appropriate sentence which fits the crime committed by the accused, which is life imprisonment sentence appropriate for the offense of rape of a minor. The National Prosecuting Authority is pleased with the sentence imposed by this court today. It will send a clear message that crimes of this nature will not be tolerated by the National Prosecuting Authority.
Nearly 200 million rand has been declared by various political parties between April and June this year, with the DA, IFP, Rise Mzansi and the ANC receiving the lion's share. This is according to the IEC's first quarter political funding disclosure report released today for the 2024-25 financial year. The IEC says the current donation by far is it says the current donation is by far the highest since the introduction of the Political Funding Act. Sibahle Mota reports.
A total of 14 parties have declared donations during the first quarter of this year. The Democratic Alliance declared the highest donation at over 56 million rands, followed by the IFP at 38 million rands, while Rise Mzansi received over 33 million rands and the ANC getting over 26 million rands. This declaration report is issued against a legislative environment wherein the Party Funding Act was amended days before the 29 May polls. I am Sibahle Mota in Johannesburg.
Hundreds of students from Rhodes University in Makhanda in the Eastern Cape have marched to the municipal buildings in protest against water shortages that started last week. The university has temporarily cancelled some of the academic activities due to the lack of water. These students say they've been severely affected.
The right to water is very vital. It's been a hectic 2 weeks. We have not had water at Rhodes University, Makhanda at large. We feel like the municipality is infringing upon our rights. So it's time that we speak up for our rights.
Because on campus we need water not only to service the residences, right, but our kitchens and the dining halls, and also ablution facilities in and around campus, right? And some of our academic infrastructure depends on that water, like, the chemistry students, the pharmacy students.
And an elephant in Myanmar has given birth to twins, a rare event at a sanctuary near Yangon. According to a camp official, Winga Bao, which opened in 2016, now houses a total of 9 elephants, including the newborn twins. The camp is well known for being a sanctuary for baby elephants that have lost their parents due to illegal trading activities. The BBC's Richard Howells.
The baby elephants, a female and male, were born 4 minutes apart on Monday at the Wingabore Elephant Camp. This is a highly unusual event. Only about 1% of elephant pregnancies result in twins, and male and female twins are even rarer. The babies, named Pearl Sint and Cure Pearl, are being bottle-fed by their keepers as they're too small to reach their mother's breasts. Their 21-year-old mother is being given extra rations to keep her strong. Pictures on social media show the cute baby elephants being given lots of attention by staff as their mother looks on.
The top story at 4 o'clock, President Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Milnerton in Cape Town. Greg has your headlines at past. For SAFM News, Kimudupi Makhalemele.
In your headlines, the South Stellenbosch FC expecting Mamelodi Sundowns tweaks in MTN 8 return leg, and athletics and tennis take centre stage at the Paralympics. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg has a crash reported at Crown Interchange. The M1 northbound in Parktown has delays towards Oxford Road in Bedfordview. The N3 has a crash on the link to the N12 east at Giluli's Interchange. R24 eastbound has delays towards Giluli's Interchange. The N3 northbound has a crash reported near Van Buren Road, and the N12 R24 westbound queuing on both routes towards Giluli's Interchange due to a crash on the opposite carriageway. In Durban, the N3 eastbound has a stationary vehicle reported at Cliffdale. The N2 southbound has truck stacking reported towards the R34 Richards Bay exit with delays possible. The N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle just before Mgeni Road. The N2 southbound, a stationary vehicle reported after the M41 Gateway exit, and the N3 northbound in Moerefeer, a truck crash reported, and that's recovery underway near Moy Toll Plaza. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 northbound is slow moving towards Kuburg Interchange. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend, and Albert Road outbound in Woodstock slow moving towards Salt River Circle. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you.
Only the final whistle can reveal who are the real football kings of East Africa. Neighbors won't get along during the East African Derby. This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Tanzania takes on Ethiopia on Wednesday, 4 September at 6 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
So when I say, Skim Sam, Generations, the legacy as well as Uzalo, what words come to mind? I mean, can you think about it? Well, what about classics, royalty, the stars, drama? Well, SABC One proudly brings you the 7th Royalty Soapy Awards, awarding the excellence in the soapies across all of Mzansi's broadcasters. Now, you can tune in for the glitz and the glamour of broadcasting. It happens tomorrow, 31st of August from 8 p.m. only on SABC One, Mzansi for sure.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, post the elections, we've had this Friday fireside chat where we speak to people of significance, and we chat to them for about, we say an hour, but it's about 45 minutes when you look at the news and the sport. And in the last few weeks, we've had, let me see if I can remember, we had Lorenzo Davids, we've had Dr. Alan Busak, we've had Dr. Mampela Rampele, we've had Felicia Mabusa Sato. Today, we've got Naledi Pandor. Listen out for that after 5 o'clock. So she joins me, and you can join me as well. It's the fireside chat. Right, let's get into other issues. We've touched on crime. You remember that, and I certainly welcome your thoughts. Some comments I want to read about crime in just a moment. But what about the city of Johannesburg as a symbol of South Africa and what goes right and what goes wrong? And there's no question, and I live in that city, that there are many parts of what I'd call downtown, town Joburg, that are absolute no-go areas. You can spin it whichever way you want. That's the reality. That's not being negative. That's being so real. So, what happens next? Well, earlier today, the Gauteng provincial government launched a multi-stakeholder initiative aimed at revitalizing the Johannesburg CBD. This program will improve the city's security and cleanliness, amongst many other things. With me is the MEC for Cooperative Governance in the region, Jacob Mamabola. Appreciate your time, MEC. You're live on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, and thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. Right.
And to all the listeners.
So first things first, I mean, would I be on the mark if I say that you wouldn't risk walking around in Joburg city centre alone, would you?
I think let me start in this way to reply to your question. There are serious security challenges that we have openly acknowledged in the CBD of the city of Joburg. That is why today, to deal precisely with the concerns around safety, security, we have, as the provincial government and the city of Joburg, unveiled and launched a sustainable law enforcement program that has seen an integration of various law enforcement agencies. It also includes technology integration by private sector, provincial government, city of Joburg, precisely to deal with security issues. And of course, we're bringing lights into the CBD because that is also critical for security. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll be unveiling the model and the system that we're going to be following to bring lighting. Will be at the legislature just to showcase the start of that initiative. We have today kickstarted a massive cleaning program based on the agreement we have with Pick It Up. So all these interventions proceed from the basis of our acknowledgement that indeed, and of course we agree, that there are challenges in what you correctly defined as the face of our country in the world.
So you've given me some examples. Maybe give me a broader sense from between yourself and obviously the Premier as well, in terms of the commitment to changing things and changing things dramatically. Because I mean they've been allowed, the city has been allowed to decay for a long time. So it's not just crime, but also just general decay for a long time. So it can't just be, one or two ceremonial announcements and say, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. Very cosmetic. It needs a dramatic change. I mean, do you agree with me?
Absolutely. There I agree with you. That is why you will have heard the Premier of the province saying that what we're unveiling today, it's the beginning, is the start. You may recall, I'm not sure to what extent, but in the State of the Province address, the Premier had actually indicated that we have had discussions with, for example, Transnet on their plans to come back to the CBD to, reopen Carlton Center. We are also looking at partnering with even national government within the district development model and intergovernmental relations, 3-sphere planning integration with national government, province, and look to also make sure that we can bring financial muscle to look into the investments in the buildings, both for office space and also for accommodation. So the interventions that we are starting with are part of a bigger strategy, exactly what you have said, to make sure that we can lift up the economic performance of the capacity that sits in the CBD of the city of Joburg, and that indeed does not require isolated, once-off, uncoordinated, less impactful intervention. So what we are doing is precisely a sustainable, long-term impact to drive economy, create jobs, build confidence. But also remember, we as the provincial government, just a quick point, allow me to make it, is that remember, our offices of the provincial government are in the CBD.
Yes.
And with the difficulties that we are having currently on the state of these buildings, we have had many of our officials working from home because of safety issues. So that also affects just our performance as well, because we should have everybody back at work, but so we need to invest in the buildings ourselves. And in that investment, we will also create opportunities for further investments even by the private sector. I was saying today, the Premier of the province will be leading us and will make an announcement before the end of the year, further reaffirming our confidence in the CBD. So you're absolutely right. We need more sustainable, high impact, but possible to do type of intervention.
Right.
So
but I
was just trying to agree with you.
Okay, I hear you right. In the 2 minutes we have remaining, here's the quick thought. There are two specific issues of huge concern that may prevent investment as per the Premier's wish list, right? One is the rampant crime in the city, particularly in the downtown region, right? And the other is the numbers of hijacked buildings, which then represents an absolute eyesore. Like, you can't quite believe that that's your city. How do you, what comes first? Does the investment come first, or you deal with the crime first, and dealing with the fact that although you want to give people spaces to live, you can't lose your city?
Yes, we have actually said that, if I were to borrow from language used somewhere, the CBD of the city of Joburg is too big to fail. We should do everything, national, province, and the city, to make sure that we bring it, we improve its performance in many respects. Today, we have announced that the South African Police Service, the Gauteng Traffic Police, the traffic wardens, the private security companies, and also those with CCTV cameras, including ourselves, all that effort will be in the CBD sustainably moving forward. A big number of the traffic wardens will be in the CBD 24 hours. So supported by SAP, supported by Gauteng Traffic Police. So security is a critical point of attraction for investment and for building confidence and improving positive sentiment to invest and stay and remain in the CBD is very important.
I think we're all on side on that. We'll have another conversation really about the cost of all those things and what happens next, but maybe not today, some other time. Appreciate your time, Jacob Mamambolo, the MEC for Cooperative Governance in the region of Gauteng. We're talking about saving the city of Johannesburg.
The National Lottery keeps creating winners with over 29 billion rand in total payouts since Ituba became the official operator of the National Lottery in 2015. The next big winner could be you. Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 88 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Foxes are highly motivated to wrap up the month of August with maximum points.
Jamie Vardy! Again for Leicester City! Ageless, priceless, and timeless!
Yet the Villains are fully focused on travelling back home with vital 3 points.
Larkin towards Randy, but John Durand! Oh, it's John Durand! Rolls it into the net, puts Aston Villa 1 goal
This
ahead.
is the Premier League. Do not miss out on the glittering action between Leicester City FC and Aston Villa FC on Saturday 31 August at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Tell you what, a little bit later on, talking about, revitalizing many parts of the city of Joburg. Well, I mean, the Wits University's West Campus, which is the Flower Hall, they've been shortlisted for a Global World Architecture Festival Award. So we'll talk about that. That's one example of how you can revitalize a city. Heather Dodd will talk to us, not quite now, around 10 to 5. So listen out for that, okay? All right, in the meantime, and I know many people want to talk about the issues of crime, and I'm really interested in the personal issues around crime. Just put that on pause for the moment. We will take your calls as soon as we can. Right. In the meantime, Rhodes University management joined students in a march to the municipal offices earlier today. That's in the area after prolonged water outages hit the university. Rhodes University's Vice Chancellor, Professor Cesare Mabizela, was also part of the march. He said they are marching to assert their constitutional rights. Their humanity and dignity have been trampled with this prolonged water outage. Rhodes University spokesperson Luzuko Jacobs joins me on the line to tell us more. Well, Luzuko, appreciate your time. You're now connected, if not to more water, but to the National Pulse.
Ashraf, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners. I can just tell you that our institutional pulse is racing at this moment.
Well, absolutely. I can just imagine. How long have you had this prolonged period of no water?
We have intermittent erratic supply of water for the longest time in Makhanda. This particular episode goes back about 10 days ago, where water provision to the campus has been completely unavailable. I think it came back once during that time, and the students indicate that after that it was gone again.
So a 10-day spread that has impacted upon the entire community, but certainly Rhodes University in particular, and all the students that are part of it. And what's the story? I mean, what's the excuse?
Can I just take you back, Ashraf, just to paint a proper context to this situation? When in 2040 this municipality was placed under administration, when Section 139 was invoked to place the municipality under administration, water provision had been disrupted for 9 days. And now we're on the 10th day, where our students and our visitors and our employees have been without water. On a daily basis, we've got about 9,000 students that we have to provide services to as the university. And as you would know, water and sanitation are constitutional rights.
Absolutely.
And that is what has been disrupted for 10 solid days.
And I also know, a few years ago, as you said, it's been an ongoing issue. I think you even now may still have a situation where without the assistance of the gift of the givers, there was going to be no water in Kanda for a long time. So, it's just a ridiculous situation. So, in terms of the march, I think the symbol around the Vice-Chancellor joining the students going on the march, saying we're all, what is that phrase? We're all in this together. That's we heard during COVID, right? It does suggest a sense of complete vulnerability, isn't it?
It's only once in the past 10 years where the university leadership, up to the level of the Vice-Chancellor, have joined a march to the municipality. There's been uncountable number of marches to the municipality, but in this past 10 years, only once did it happen that the university administration joined the students in a march to the municipality. So it should just tell you about how the situation has deteriorated in the past 10 years. Let me just give you a sense of that. In 2014-15, the municipality obtained a qualified audit with findings. 2015-16, the municipality obtained a qualified audit with findings. It was the same story in 2016-17. In 2017-18, it was the same story of a qualified audit with findings. In 2018-19, the situation deteriorated further, and the university, the municipality obtained a disclaimer with findings. Let me just tell you what characterized that disclaimer with findings. The irregular expenditure increased in 1 year from 4.5 million to 95.2 million. How is that? Let me just repeat that for effect so that you can understand. Irregular expenditure increased from 4.5 million to 95.2 million. And other elements of that disclaimer included awarding of contracts to close family members and uncompetitive or unfair procurement processes that were followed. It just tells you what is the main purpose and what drives the people who work at our local municipality. Throughout all these periods, if you ask me how many people would have been held accountable for the findings of investigative processes, including forensic findings that were presented.
And I take it you're going to say zero, yeah?
There is absolutely no one who would have been held accountable. So you can only expect that things are getting worse. And indeed, this is now what we are experiencing, of things getting worse. And this matter would have been escalated to the leadership of the province, to the national leadership of the Department of Copta. But with all the interventions and the political tourism to the province, nothing happens after that.
Just lastly, as we get to news time, what has been the official response from the municipality, and what has been the unofficial response?
The confirmation today was actually that this is a product of sabotage by employees who have embarked on an industrial action to try to gain access to overtime pay that they use as second salaries for themselves. That's what we've been told. We've been told that is a matter that is being addressed, but remember, that has been the story of the past 10 years. We are hoping that this time around, we will be able to get an outcome, because if we don't, we have to see the transformation of the relationship between the municipality and the university as the biggest ratepayers.
Well, I'll tell you what, Luzuko Jacobs, thanks for your time and for explaining, I think, your plight and the entire community around roads so articulately. It really puts us into the picture of understanding, like, this is another reality, and this is just what we've been saying every single day. There are 20 realities all around the country, and everyone is their own big problem reality, and like, which fire do you put out? Which well do you fill? It is a huge, huge problem, right? 4:30, let's get the news headlines with Greg Hose.
Thank you and good afternoon to you. Ashraf, in the headlines, President Ramaphosa welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Milnerton in Cape Town. Nearly 200 million rand has been declared by various political parties between the 1st of April and the 30th of June this year. And Germany's Interior Ministry's deported 28 Afghan nationals back to Kabul. We'll have more on that story and other news at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound queuing through Kraan interchange towards Boysens. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road. In Clovendaal, Wilgeroot Road has a crash reported at Christian de Wet Road, and Christian de Wet Road is queuing at Wilgeroot Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg is heavy traffic reported between Howick and Hilton. The N2 southbound in Mpangeni has truck stacking reported towards the R34 Richards Bay exit. Delays are possible. The N3 eastbound has a stationary vehicle reported at Cliffdale, and the R102 southbound is slow moving near Old North Coast Road. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M5 southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway. The N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound is queuing at Beaufort Circle, and the N1 outbound queuing towards Okavango Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, Tumi, what are your priorities of sport today?
MTN 8, Stellenbosch FC coach Steve Barker says that he's expecting Mamelodi Sundowns' new Brazilian striker Arthur Sales to start up front in Sunday's MTN 8 semi-final second leg. Now, the forward looked sharp when he came off the bench in the first leg at the Lucas Moripe Stadium on Wednesday, seeing his 2 clear-cut chances saved by Stelli's goalkeeper and man of the match, Sage Stevens. However, Barker says that he is aware that Downs will come out the blocks firing as they need to overturn the 1-0 deficit at the Moses Mabhida Stadium this weekend.
It's difficult to predict. I think a player like Salah showed, the little bit of minutes that he had, how good a player is. Obviously at sometimes you sort of blood new players in, especially foreign players, maybe they didn't start this evening, but I do think now that he had minutes, there's a strong possibility that he starts the game. I think Temba's always been their talisman. It was possible that he sort of gets a start, but I don't want to think too far ahead.
Meanwhile, Mangoba Mngiti, Mamelodi Sundowns head coach, says that he would take valuable lessons from the first leg in coming up with a strategy to breach what proved a stubborn defense on Wednesday night.
When you are playing against a team like Stellenbosch, you are often made to see what the PSL is going to look like, because a lot of teams will always have this low block and they can sporadically try to press you from the top, but it's not their main intention. Their main intention is to draw you closer and open the space behind so that they can capitalize on that. I think our centre backs can be a little bit more decisive in dealing with these situations, either by breaking the press and killing the space behind, or trying to win almost all the balls that are played, because whenever we've gone and won those challenges, we immediately initiate an attack. And it's always the big moments that are created from a long ball against these teams, because whenever they get the ball and play forward and you are able to win and establish play immediately to try and finding a penetrative pass, there's always a chance to get something. We want to rely sometimes a lot on our build-up, and yet I think there is so much to benefit from transitions that you can get from the opposition, because most of these teams get more excited whenever they've got possession of the ball. They are more dangerous when they don't have the ball. But when they've got the ball, I think there's a lot of benefits you can benefit from that.
Elsewhere, Southampton signed England goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale from Arsenal ahead of today's transfer deadline. The 26-year-old has been linked with the Wolves, but that move fell through and paved the way for his switch to St Mary's. Ramsdale joined Arsenal from Sheffield United back in 2021 and made 89 appearances in all competitions. In rugby, the Springbok women concluded their training camp in Gqeberha today, and according to assistant coach Lorraine Johannes Haupt, they made big gains in the build-up to the forthcoming WA Warriors V2 tournament in Cape Town next month. Now, Suez de Brain was named as Springbok Women Performance Coach earlier this month, with Bafana Ntleko added as backs and defense coach, joining incumbent forwards coaches Johannes Hapt and Francel September. A squad of 36 players will assemble in Cape Town this weekend to prepare for the first two fixtures. Then in Paralympic news, the Paralympic track and field events began at Stade de France today, while the wheelchair tennis players commenced a battle at Roland Garros on day 2 of the competition in Paris. Paralympic powerhouse China leaped to the top of the medals table after the first day of the competition yesterday and quickly added a 5th gold today when the athletics got underway. In terms of Team South Africa, just to keep you up to date with their performance, Jaco Smit unfortunately missed out on making it to the next round of the T1200 meter round. He finished second in his heat with a time of 11.12 seconds. However, it wasn't enough to qualify him for the next round. But in terms of good news, Nathan Hendricks is going to the final in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. After doing well in his heat, he actually finished first. And on the court, it is, just checking quickly, Alwandes Kosana, who is currently trailing 2-1 in the first set against Gustavo Silva. However, they had to stop due to weather conditions and no matches are currently being played. But we'll keep you up to date with regards to how South Africa is currently doing at the Paralympics so far. With that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
You know, I was saying, just before I let you go, I was reading Thando Manana's tweet, and I think it's a very important one. He said, Rassie is busy building for 2027. That's the World Cup. He wants us to have a reason should we not win. The reason being 2027.
Yeah.
He knows we would have said we should have beaten the All Blacks if we played our best 15. We know Pollard would have played if he selected his best 15. Long term is the virtue for Rassie. He knows what he's doing, and there's a South African flag next to it.
Absolutely.
I actually agree with his sentiments. That sometimes, I'm not saying we're going to lose, but even if we did lose, the most important thing is how do you evolve a team from winning the previous 2 World Cups with virtually the same team to a new team, a new fusion that comes together that can win the next World Cup. And that's the ultimate, because nobody remembers now who won the Tri-Nations, who wins the World Cup, or whichever rugby championship they play nowadays.
Absolutely.
All right, more sports in an hour.
The Buccaneers are highly against anything that will prevent them from getting to the final as they chase their 3rd consecutive title. But the Citizens are on a mission to spoil that party. This is the second leg of the MTN 8 semi-final. Defending champs Orlando Pirates FC tackle Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 31 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more. Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to the markets, absolutely, with Paswane Mpatlele, Senior Account Manager at Markway Fund Managers. Right, give us the update on local and global markets, Paswane.
Afternoon, Ashraf, and to all your listeners. Happy Friday, guys. We kicked off with in the news with the likes of the Eurozone inflation that hit a 3-year low at 2.2%, reflecting the softer inflation that has basically generally encouraged confidence around that the ECB will be cutting interest rates, along with the likes of the South African Reserve Bank optimistically, the US Fed, especially after today, where we saw that they reported that their favorite gauge of inflation was basically meeting expectation, and as long with the spending, and this has helped anchor global investment sentiment despite profit taking we've seen at the end of the month in back home here. South African rand has hit a 30-month low high on signs of economic turnaround, and especially in the strength on the fact that our supply side factors are becoming very positive, with likes of no load shedding that is encouraging productivity. When we look at some of the economic data we got, we saw private sector credit that declined to 3.5, but it's not encouraging in the fact that it's still below average. But we also did not even receive furthermore news that our budget deficit was also smaller, as we saw at 79 billion rand. It's not very encouraging economic data, but looking into forward, we're on a monthly basis, we're seeing South African JSEs trading very higher as markets trade positively for the month of August. The US index currently is trading volatile, with option trading expiring today. We see it's helping some of the US indices, with Nasdaq up 0.7, S&P 0.6, Dow 0.1, Europe is 0.2 gains across the board, while JSE, that profit taking is taking place, with the JSE down 0.88. Resource sector has felt most of the brand down 2.6, financials down 0.9, industrials managed to up gains of 0.1. Looking into our commodities, our gold price was down 0.1 at $2,516 an ounce, platinum 935, oil did a big splash of 1.6, just reflecting that in that G20 countries, where 40% of them are still seeing some not encouraging growth. We see oil at $77.06 a barrel. Looking at the rand, it keeps it clearly below the 18 rand level at 17.70. Rand against the euro 19.60. Rand against the pound 23.27. And that's just a wrap for the August trading.
Okay, well, there we are. Thank you for that, and we will chat to you and your team on Monday. I know that. It's the weekend, right? There we are. Okay, let's get to some of the callers now. Active Citizen in Polokwane. Hi.
Ashraf,
Yes,
EFF should stop scoring cheap political scores. We are complaining about the crime stats. You know the first caller who called you about, she's a lady who called you about the crime. She touched me.
Yes.
And I know for sure that about 50% of the crime that we're talking about in this country today is committed by foreign nationals who are invited by the EFF to find creative ways to enter this country. Now, instead of addressing the issue of crime stats, they're talking about the apology by Ramaphosa. And Ramaphosa's apology was that for people, for being misunderstood and misinterpreted by the people, not to say he lied to the people or he misled the people. So they're trying to score cheap political scores. They must address the crime that they've invited to us South African citizens. Now our sisters are unable to live happily here because of them.
All right, Active Citizen, I think first thing, that lady caller, she absolutely touched me as well. I agree with you. That's why I think the human story around the impact of crime is so important that we need to talk about it. The second part, I think, the cheap points, I'm not going to say that we've got crime because of the EFF or foreign nationals. I think that's another broader conversation, right? Because it suggests South Africans don't commit any crime, which is not true. But this is the big thing. The one thing I agree with you is just about all the political parties, the major parties, they are in the business of scoring points the whole day. They put their party ahead of everybody else, and all they can do is spend a lot of time denigrating other parties, bringing them down to show up how good they are, as if they have done nothing. And the truth is, if you actually analyze every single party of the major parties, you will find tons of things wrong with them. So, yeah, we are aligned on that. Let's get another call in Buisa in Pietermaritzburg. Welcome to the National Pulse. Go ahead. Hello.
Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good indeed. Yeah, it's one of those crime days that you have to reflect on, but I'm fine.
You know, Ashraf, the issue of foreigners is a problem. We need to be honest. And the EFF actually this move is miscalculated when actually they are defending. Because I remember Malema said that if you go to prisons, you'll find South Africans, less foreigners. These people, they are not in our database. They commit offenses. They know that their fingerprints, they are not actually in our database. These people are the ones actually who are causing havoc in this country.
Well, I'm just saying it. It's a broader issue. We can also say, how did we allow the borders to be porous, just people to come in, but to still attribute all the crimes to foreign nationals is being rather naive. There are many
not
parts.
All of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but majority of. Most of the serious heinous crimes. Spikes. The spikes in Pretoria. Those people are Zimbabwe. We know that the people who are coming with spikes, who came with these spikes, this is Zimbabwean guys. These people are all over the truck.
Okay, well, thanks for alerting us. Look, let's put it this way. There's no question that, and this is the part, no government and political party can tell me otherwise, that the issue of crime has been out of control, not now out of control, has been out of control for over 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken. It's just, and then you get pockets of brilliance, like you get the 2010 World Cup and everything's just perfect because we step up security, like the Ellis Park Test match tomorrow, where they've spruced up the whole area around Dawnfontein, which is where Ellis Park is, and they've ensured that there's safe, Gautrain to the Joburg Park Station to the stadium, so you don't have to take your cars. All that, and then what happens the next next day, So you're getting these temporary cosmetic changes, and we can't sustain that, and that's just not acceptable. Really, it's not. Okay, further comments. Let's get the crime stories. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. My name is Elfas Ngoboye in KwaZulu-Natal. You know, these latest crime statistics, they send shivers down my spine. Absolutely, Ashraf. Anyway, but I'm wondering why our government is not trying to learn from other countries who have been able to fight crime successfully. Because clearly, it's apparent that we are doing something wrong here. We cannot get this thing correct. Anyway, enjoy your day.
Thank you so much. We'll try and enjoy it. But you're right about that. Like, how long does it take to identify it's a problem? Well, I often use this example. When COVID-19 first came to our shores, or they were still coming, then we had the president talking, and he talked about the unseen enemy. I remember that first speech very clearly, and he had the military in front of him, like, we're going to war against the unseen enemy. So how can we not go to war against criminals? How can we not understand that criminals are very much the seen enemy? And we talk about it, and there's hundreds of examples of poor arrests, no arrests, or botched cases. People get off free just because of just poor documentation, and it's not going on for a week or two. It's going on for years, and in the meantime, the crime has turned more violent all the time. And I'm certainly not renting for it for the sake of it. I say it as someone who truly loves my country. Absolutely do. And the fact that crime can undermine our country, and by and large, we don't have a plan, that's a problem, really. Okay, here's one.
Hi, Ashraf. Panyaza Lisufi is all talk. He lies about almost everything. I wonder why people still listen to him. Thank you, Simon.
Okay.
Ashraf, this is Mo from Benoni. There's one question you're not asking that guy. Who's there trying to defend what they're going to do with the city in order to try to upgrade it. Maybe just ask the question, what were they doing in the past 30 years for the city to be here? What were they not aware of what is happening? Did they not care what is happening? Is the GNU now forcing them to start taking action and making Joburg look like a Cape Town? Why only now?
I don't think it's only now. I think there's been stop-start attempts for the last 10, 15 years, 20 years. Just Google it, you'll find it. I don't think it's only now. There's been different plans, but also policing has been poor. Preemptive policing has been poor. Community investment in terms of community development has been poor. Issues of job creation has been poor. So, I can go on about all these factors that contribute to the plight that we find ourselves in. Okay, hopefully I'll take some more calls just now as soon as I can. But in the meantime, remember this. Naledi Pando, she's my guest from 5 to 6. It's the Friday Fireside Chat. We're going to chill. Some serious, some light-hearted moments. Looking forward to that conversation.
They say first touch in football is very key. That's exactly what First Touch ladies want to display to grab a spot in the top 5. But UWC is onto something different. This is the Hollywood Men's Super League. Catch Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. First Touch Ladies FC versus the University of the Western Cape Ladies FC on Sunday 1 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Lottery keeps creating winners with over 29 billion rand in total payouts since Ituba became the official operator of the National Lottery in 2015. The next big winner could be you. Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 88 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
So I say to you, I say it's Kim Sam, I say generations, I say the legacy, and I say Uzalo rather. Then what do you think? Well, think about the words like royalty, classics, the stars, and drama. Because SABC1 proudly brings you the 7th Royalty Soapy Awards, which awards the very best from soapies all across the Mzansi's broadcasters. Now you can tune in for the glitz and the glam of broadcasting. This happens tomorrow at 8 p.m. only on SABC1 in Mzansi for sure.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Tell you what, feel free to tweet me whenever you feel you've got something to say. Noel Crowie is saying 9,000 students affected by water outages at Rhodes University, and what the response from the municipal managers. And then Zaki Matebula saying, this is via Twitter, tweeting out, okay? Do tag me and SFM Radio, saying, in Johannesburg, it's not easy to deal with crimes as we still have people who are sugarcoating the problems of foreigners and those who are selling drugs to our people. We have MPs who are very afraid to talk about foreigners like their media. Well, there you are. The show is called The National Pulse. What for you moves the National Pulse today? So, yeah, we have Naledi Pando coming up in a few minutes' time. Before that, here's some good news, I would think, right? And we focus on innovation at least once a week. The Flower Hall. Remember the Flower Hall at Wits University? Everybody knows it. It's called, I think the Vice Chancellor called it the torture chamber, if I'm not mistaken. That's what he told me anyway. But it's the Flower Hall, which is the examination center and test center at Wits University's West Campus. Well, that's been shortlisted in the Creative Ruse category for the World Architecture Festival, which will be held in Singapore from, well, sometime in November. Okay, so let's find out more about it and speak to the architects around this architecture that has so impressed the world. Heather Dodd is with me, architect from Savage and Dodd Architects. Heather, I appreciate your time. Finally, we get chatting.
Thanks, Ashraf. Good to be on your program.
Thank you. Right. So tell us what you've done.
Ashraf, the Flower Hall, as you may remember, was part of the old showgrounds from the Rand Easter show.
In fact, can I interrupt you? The Flower Hall is the place where my wife and I got married when it was the old showground. So you can continue.
Wow.
So I have an emotional connection to the Flower Hall. But anyway, move on. Yeah.
Photographs of that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was always used in its sort of unchanged state. And as you mentioned, many generations of students know it to be a very horrible space to have sat and wrote exams, especially in June when it's absolutely freezing. So the university was looking to revamp the space to make it, in fact, to double the capacity of it. So we put a new floor in and a new mezzanine floor within the building itself. Completely new services in, an amazing system called the chilled beam system, which heats and cools the building, great lighting, acoustics, and with a vision to it being a really comfortable space to use for exams, but also perhaps big events like alumni events and so on. And then with a much longer target in mind, which is in the future to convert it into shared services, engineering, research laboratories. And that will obviously only be if they can find the funding to do that. So that's
and the brief to you guys, I mean, was what? I mean, we do something functional that also looks aesthetically very, very pleasing and less of a torture chamber, or what?
Yes, it's to enhance the functionality of the building in a nutshell. Which and as architects, one always is looking to make beautiful spaces as well as comfortable spaces, and it's a few things that have enhanced that, such as putting new glazing in the facade, just really makes it pop.
Oh, it sounds very interesting. So, when has it been revamped? I mean, like, when does it look like what it looks now?
It looks like it is now. It's completed. The building is complete.
Okay. And tell me more about, again, the architectural appeal, the aesthetics that would have obviously so impressed those that have put you onto that short list.
Well, I think it's an adaptive reuse building. So that's about adapting a building from one use into another. And it's got a very, very particular shape, geometry to that building. I mean, I always liken it to actually being almost the shape of an armadillo in some ways. So very quite challenging from a shape and spatial perspective. So, the judges who look at the entries, I mean, they've got two boards that they look at. You send it off. They've got a group of people in London who go through and then shortlist entries. And so I think, it's got to be an immediate response to it, to the photograph of the building, which I think is the facade and what it looks like with the light coming in, and it looks inviting.
And the response so far from the students?
I think it's been amazing. We've put up several LinkedIn posts, as has the university, and it's about perception. And I liken it to the fact it's not only the transformation of the building, but it's the transformation of perceptions. So, so many people go, oh, well, yeah, wow, that's where I failed economics 1. The worst time of my life, and what a transformation. I mean, I'd like to write an exam there now, although probably nobody really wants to write an exam. But I think that's a transformation of perception, and so important for universities like Wits, who really put a tremendous amount of effort, energy, and investment into buildings on their campus. And often alumni are not necessarily aware of that. They don't always see the good news stories.
Absolutely, I have no doubt about that. Right, we're on to news time. So here's a quick thought from yourself, right? So I understand the actual judging will be in Singapore November 6th to November 8th. So obviously it's a big boost for Wits University, but it also has to be a big boost for the architectural firm that's put the design together, which is your company, right, Savage and Dodd?
Absolutely. It's a great recognition for us just to be shortlisted. And then to present in a global forum like World Architecture Festival is an amazing opportunity.
And fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
There we are. We'll keep an eye on what happens finally November 6th to November 8th. Absolutely good talking to you, Heather Dodd, and we'll see what happens then. Maybe another chat when you actually win. Absolutely fingers crossed. Right, okay, more to come. Let me just remind you, we will be chatting to Naledi Pandor after 5, as in like now, because, we have this fireside chat every Friday. So we speak to someone, chill, serious, the type of conversations you have when you do have a fireside chat. Do not miss that. It comes up now. Tell your friends, tell your chummies. Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock.
Ramaphosa welcomes extortionist arrests in Germany, deports convicted Afghan nationals. Good day to you. President Cyril Ramaphosa welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Milnerton and Cape Town. 4 others were killed during a shootout with police. 4 suspects were also wounded and are under police guard in hospital. Ramaphosa was speaking at the signing of a cooperation agreement between all levels of government to combat crime in Cape Town.
What that meant is that we are now taking the war against those who extort money. We are taking the war against the construction mafia. We are taking the war against gangsters. We are now going to take you on and make sure that you are brought justice. The gangsters are tearing our communities apart, and this is costing innocent lives. Businesses are being forced, and they are now tired because they are being forced to pay protection fees and of being under siege from criminals who are destroying their businesses.
Meanwhile, the Western Cape Premier Alan Windey's welcomed the signing of the cooperation agreement. He says it'll focus on community-driven initiatives, integration of resources and sharing information strategies.
For me, as we start the 7th administration, the time now is for less talk and more action. Our government needs to be joined up. As we are at a national level, we need to be joined up in making sure that we stand together to fight crime. Our residents need to see us doing that. And that means it is time for action.
Nearly 200 million rand has been declared by political parties between April and June this year. That's according to the IEC's first quarter political funding disclosure report released today for the 2024-25 financial year. Sebakle Mota reports.
A total of 14 parties have declared donations during the first quarter of this year. The Democratic Alliance declared the highest donation at over 56 million rands, followed by the IFP at 38 million rands, while Rise Mzansi received over 33 million rands and the ANC getting over 26 million rands. This declaration report is issued against a legislative environment wherein the Party Funding Act was amended days before the 29 May polls. President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law the Electoral Matters Amendment Act, which amended the Political Party Funding Act. When the Amendment Act came into effect, it reversed the 100,000 disclosure threshold and 15 million rands annual donation limit set by the Act.
The cross-examination of ballistic expert Chris Mangana is expected to continue on Monday as the Senzo murder trial has adjourned for the day. He's been testifying about the murder weapon that was allegedly confiscated from accused number 3 in 2015. Mangana says the test results for that firearm tested positive and were verified by 4 of his colleagues. Presiding Judge Rata Matlokeng has requested that those officers also be called to testify.
I've listened to the evidence. Normally, my discretion should be used at the end of the cross-examination by yourselves. But because of the nature of the evidence which has been led here, ballistics, I intend calling the four persons who you say they assisted you.
Police are searching for a suspect who shot and killed a safe-proclaimed prophet outside Thohoyandou in Limpopo. Police spokesperson Lulani Mashaba says the deceased received a call from the suspect to go and pray for his sick grandmother. He says an argument apparently ensued when he got there and the self-proclaimed prophet was shot and killed.
They met the suspect who pulled out his firearm and ordered the victim to move towards the back seat. Afterwards, he fired a shot at the victim. The motive behind the shooting is unknown at this stage, while police investigations are currently underway.
Germany's Interior Ministry's deported 28 Afghan nationals back to Kabul. A German government spokesperson confirmed that they were all convicted criminals who had no right to stay in Germany. The Chancellor, Olaf Scholz.
Das haben wir sorgfältig vorbereitet.
We've prepared this carefully, without talking about it too much, because such plans only succeed if you make an effort, if you do it carefully and very discreetly. It's a clear sign that anyone who commits criminal offences cannot count on us not to deport them, and we will look for ways to do so.
Top story. President Ramaphosa's welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Milnerton in Cape Town. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Gous.
Coming up in news sports this hour, Ellis Park Precinct gets major lift ahead of Rugby Championship, and MPBPA welcome Minister Gayton McKenzie's progressive decision. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Sandton is slow moving towards Marlborough Drive. The N1 southbound in Fourways queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive exit. Wilgerud Road westbound has a crash reported between Christian de Wet Road and Martyrs Avenue. The road's closed, queuing traffic in the area. The N1 northbound in Midrand queuing towards Samaran Road. The N1 northbound in Pretoria has a stationary truck reported after the R21 highway, and the N1 northbound in Hammanskraal has delays towards the Murray Hill Road exit. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg has heavy traffic between Howick and Hilton. The N3 eastbound has a crash reported as well as a stationary vehicle at Cliffdale. The N2 southbound in Mpangeni has truck stacking towards the R34 Richards Bay exit with delays possible, and Chris Hani Road westbound queuing at the N2 highway. In the Free State, the N3 has a crash reported between Warden and Ritz exit. In Cape Town, the M5 Prince George Drive, protesting reported at Retreat, so you are to expect delays and diversions. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is slow moving at Hospital Bend. The N1 outbound is queuing towards Okavango Road, and Strand Road eastbound in Stickland, slow moving towards the R300 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Dzonga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Here he comes. Hello, guys. You're so dramatic. Hey, bro, it's not me. It's the extra styling kit, the leather seats with the red finish. It's the tow bar, all coming standard with my red Isuzu badge. Wow, now that is extra.
Why be standard when you can get the all-new Isuzu D-Max X-Rider from just 8,742 Rand. Prime less 3.5%, 0% deposit, 40% balloon, and 72 months to pay. Get yours today. Finance is subject to approval. Isuzu Finance, a product of West Bank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Right, you need to think about this ahead of tomorrow's big night. And I don't mean the box. What I'm talking about is, think about these titles: the Legacy, Generation, Skeem Sam, Uzalo, and think about the words that are linked to them, like royalty, classics, the stars, and drama. Now, SABC One proudly brings you the 7th Royalty Soapy Awards. It happens tomorrow night at 8 p.m, a reflection of the very best in soapies from all of Mzansi's broadcasters, and it's on SABC One, 8 p.m. tomorrow, Mzansi for sure.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So in the last few weeks, since we've now moved on from the elections, we've had this fireside chat where we speak to a person and we chat, we chill. We have the conversations that you would typically have when you have these fireside chats over a braai, where there's no script, there's no plan. You just get talking and you pick each other's brains and something emerges, especially if you have someone with you that you know has strong views about a whole range of issues. So to reflect, in the last month or so, we've had Lorenzo Davids, then we've had Dr. Mampela Rempele, then we've had Alan Busak, Dr. Alan Busak as well. And then last week we had Felicia Mabusa-Suttle. And today it's the turn of Naledi Pandor. So she's with us now for the next, up to 6 o'clock. So about 45, 50 minutes, and certainly looking forward to that. Now, I'll tell you up front, we'll probably have time for maybe 3 calls max, 3 voice notes max, not much longer than that. So if you want to, we'll take it later on, but we can't do more than that. But it doesn't mean you can't tweet your thoughts. You can certainly do that. Just use the hashtag The National Pulse and then tag SAFM Radio and then tag me, Ashraf Garda. But also tell your friends, tell your chummies they can listen in, because as you know, not just on radio, you can listen on radio, you can listen on live streaming, and you certainly can you can listen on the SABC Plus app, the new app, which I'll tell you now, the sound is just like absolute magic. Okay, so we do have with us now Naledi Pandor. Good chatting to, thanks for joining us and having this virtual fireside chat.
Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me. Good evening to all the listeners as well.
Thank you. So I very deliberately chose not to call you the Honourable, because I thought you'd understand that you've moved on, right?
I don't have that title any longer.
How do you adapt with that? I mean, the fact that, there's 2 parts to it. The one is like in the past, everybody has to call you that. And whether you like it or not, I don't know. But now they don't have to, and suddenly it's like a doctor, and that doesn't exist any longer.
Well, it's quite amusing and a strange feeling, because people still want to call me minister, others honourable, and you stop people, then they do it again. So essentially, I think I'm now living with what people choose to call me, as long as it's not rude.
and what would you prefer, not just now, but even before? What would you have always preferred to be called, if it was completely up to you?
Well, I'm Dr. Naledi Pandor, and if one is formal, that's what I'd be called, or Naledi is my name when we're not formal. As we are not formal here on your program.
And I want to be intentionally not formal. Absolutely right. So what have you been doing? The last 2 months, if I'm counting my dates right, May 29 to a few months since then. What have you been doing since then? It's 3 months.
Contemplating.
In fact, yeah. Are you still contemplating about your next?
Yes. Well, I decided. I've always worked very hard. Not been one really for long holidays and so on. So I thought, given that this is a major shift and change in my life, I should give myself a month or so to adjust. And of course, I had to do a whole lot of administrative things, moving house and so on. So I haven't really finally decided. I've been invited by some universities to be like a visiting fellow, and other institutes. I have spoken at various conferences on higher education or on peace and security in Africa or globally. So I've taken up quite a number of conference engagements, and I think I've somewhat overcommitted myself because, I'm not used to not working.
Yeah.
And so I thought I should keep busy. But as I sit down and have to write the next conference input, I realized that I think I overdid it a bit.
Okay, in terms of
that's what I'm
in
doing.
terms of overcommitment. But do I take it that in many ways you're almost Mandela-esque in a sense that he made the point that I'll retire when I go to heaven. That sort of thing. That otherwise expect me to be, maybe not in a formal job as one would call it, but in tune till the very end.
No, indeed, I hope so. God willing. That I would be able to continue to be active and to do a whole range of things. I'd also like to develop the discipline of writing. I would like to write, our family story if I can, in a light way, but certainly I'd like to do it. And then I'm toying, with other writing ideas that I hope I'll be able to get onto soon. So my intention is to keep busy.
And I know at the time that we had found out that you're not going to be standing as a minister, right? In any position, the names got thrown about, like maybe top job at the United Nations, some other major, moderating panel dealing with sort of big global issues. So, I mean, do I take it that is that on the agenda? I know you haven't made the decision, but is that on the agenda, or would you write that off?
I haven't received such invitations, but have heard talk. So we'll see. I'm open at the moment. And as long as it does, I think I'm wary of a 9-to-5 type, commitment, because then it won't allow me the freedom to do some of the things that I've spoken of.
Yeah.
So I would not want a full-time position or one.
To be fair, I mean, that would be wise, because having been, being a minister and then a senior member of the ANC, and that means there's branches to be concerned about. I mean, you worked yourself off to a pulp, I suppose, during the election period, trying to canvass the votes. You now have this space, and you can't fill that space completely where you can't maneuver. So, I mean, it completely makes sense to me. But what's it like? So I almost put it this way: what's it like not being a politician now?
I feel so free. I don't feel, tied to a particular time, particular committee meeting, particular schedule. And I'm speaking to so many people. There's a great deal of interest in interviewing me, which has been fascinating. I've really had some amazing interviews, and again, I think it's something I'm just going to watch a bit. But yeah, I feel free. I think that's most important.
And I mean, certainly I've been watching some of the interviews around you. I mean, different angles from different people, but people have always been fascinated by you. One from this, this feisty woman, this headstrong woman, this woman with this very strong formal accent, some British accent, some may say, but certainly someone who has absolute presence, and that's come through often, to the point where, on some of the big issues that you've taken up in the global world, and we'll talk about the Middle East in just a moment, but it's come to a stage where, and I know, you've been with Home Affairs, with Science, you've been in education, this, the question two people have received this question probably more than anybody else, probably three, right? I think Tuli Madonsela at one stage, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman and Dr. Naledi Pandor to say, what about you guys for the presidency, right? Now, that story is gone, right? But when people suggested that so often, right, how did you feel about this?
Well, you feel people are so kind to think of you in such a senior position in your country, but it's something I have never aspired for. Personally, I've never thought of myself in that way. And I have seen in South Africa that, we may like the person when we want them to be president, but the minute they occupy the office, we don't like them very much. And I'm enjoying the love, actually. Okay. And I like it.
Well, I remember a story my father related to me a long, long time ago. He said, when you do well, then people name a street after you, but then after a while they chase you down the same street. So you you probably understand that. Why did you not aspire to be the president anyway?
I'm a hands-on person. I like working on things, and maybe I like to work alone sometimes. I like to think it through, and then, share ideas with the team. But I wouldn't like to be sort of bundled around and told where I must walk. And it's just, it's not me.
Okay.
I enjoy getting my hands dirty.
Are you? Okay. Well, some may say, I mean, you're loved, you're admired, you are respected. you're also vilified and ridiculed by different sections of society, not just in South Africa, but around the world. How do you cope with that? The variances?
I think it's to be expected, Ashraf, if it's all right for me to call you Ashraf.
Absolutely.
I think, in this position, it's to be expected, or in my previous life. What's interesting is that it's going on even though I've left office. And it shows either that, one raises or causes people to have strong feelings of support or disdain. And really, the negative has been really around the question of the people of Palestine. And, I've had all sorts of comments and insults hurled at me, threats and so on. But I'm not surprised. And I'm so fortunate that I have the support of my family, of my children. They understand what's happening. And so, when I feel really, bad and hard done by with some of the comments, I, am able to share with them, and they kind of ease my mind.
Has there been a comment, and I'll get your thoughts on the Middle East in a moment in terms of the actual position, but has there been a comment that has really stung you because it's not true, but it's just so demeaning?
Yeah. Well, there's now sort of attacks on my daughter Aisha, who you may know.
Yes, of course I do.
And I see there's one. The most recent tweet I just saw an hour ago, saying that she's my daughter, and she has started a business with government money, which is not true, and that she has tenders from government, and she employs foreign nationals. I mean, so, absolute nonsense.
It's that sort of thing. All right, just pause on that.
So that kind of thing.
Okay, let's pause on that, and I want to just see how then do you manage that. But more than that, we'll talk about just the thoughts in this case here of Naledi Pandor, a former minister, and what is the position on the ANC as well, of course, on the Middle East.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so in conversation with Naledi Pandor, once the Honourable Minister, but now simply Naledi Pandor, who I talked to as part of this fireside chat. And of course, you're joining me just by listening in, which is just absolutely fabulous. So let's then talk about this. What is it about the Palestinian issue that has taken up so much of your time? What I say is this: I mean, you've done lots of things in the world, and you've done that so well. But it seemed like, and this is a perception from others, that this was personal to you. And I think you've actually even said that. Why so much attention went to the Palestinian issue?
I think, firstly, people do forget that it was the position of government that I was advancing and not a personal position. It's also a policy position of the African National Congress. But I became sort of the spokesperson on the issue, primarily because government took the very important decision of approaching the International Court of Justice on the belief we have that genocide is underway against the people of Palestine with the current onslaught in Gaza. So I had to speak on the issue, great deal of interest in South Africa, given our human rights posture in the country and our commitment to be of assistance to those who suffer oppression and harm. This is something that I do feel deeply about, just as distinct from the policy directive of government, given our own experience as persons who suffered oppression and whose oppression was often unmarked. We were very fortunate as South Africans that we had an established liberation movement to raise our plight worldwide. The Palestinian people appear to suffer the indignity of oppression and harm without much notice from the world. I suspect as well that there's huge media support for the state of Israel and a neglected attention to the plight of the people of Palestine. So I grew up in a family where fairness was very important. And I have felt for a long time that with respect to the cause for freedom of Palestinians, their plight is almost, hidden to the world, is neglected, and that much more should have been done by all of us. So I was very proud of our cabinet that it took this decision, that it would indeed lay a case before the ICJ on behalf of the Palestinian
people. So
people.
what do you say to those critics who say, well, we hear you, we understand it's complex, you know how it is two different peoples in one land fighting and arguing with each other, but there's the Hamas issue, and how could they do what they did? And now here you are effectively, either supporting them or you're propping up their cause indirectly. How do you respond to that?
Not all Palestinian people are Hamas freedom fighters or Hamas fighters. Ordinary Palestinian people are being killed every day. I, in my statements, as has government, have been critical of the actions of Hamas in attacking innocent Israelis at a concert and taking captive a number of innocent Israeli civilians. I believe that there should be a two-state solution, that the people of Israel, as well as the people of Palestine, are deserving of peace, freedom, and security. But having said that, do not neglect that the people of Palestine are living on land that is occupied, are living under oppressive laws, do not enjoy democracy and freedom. And so we have to have an appreciation of the full context in which these matters occur. And I think as human beings, all of us feel for all innocents, but the strongest feeling is for those who are oppressed and who do not enjoy freedom.
Okay.
Because that no state has a right to exercise such oppression over any people.
And part of the position you've taken, your government and the ANC have taken, has seen, as you've said, your family being vilified. You mentioned Aisha Pando earlier on as well. But certainly yourself. I was picking up a piece from the Jerusalem Center for Security, and I mean the amount of insinuations, just broad things about you and Mandla Mandela and your entire family. How do you defend against that?
Well, you ask yourself, should I write a response? Is it worth it? Will it stop? I mean, it has come from the highest levels, both in Israel and outside, even in our own country. The Zionist Federation has called me a tool of Iran, a supporter of Hamas representative in South Africa. So, I've really relied on a phrase I was taught while at school, which is that insults are the last refuge of a scoundrel. And the fact that such important people comment on actions that you take, which intend no harm to them, mean that your words actually are carrying a message that is important.
Okay.
So I think by attacking me, they are signaling the importance of the message that one is conveying.
All right. Let's pause for that. Maybe I'll take 3 calls maximum. If you do get on short, sharp, in 3 voice notes, can't be more than 30 seconds each. We'll do that in about 10 or 15 minutes' time, so you can maybe call in just now. Let's get the news headlines now. It's 5:30. Here's Greg.
Quick look at the headlines. The president of the New Development Bank has expressed concern around the high level of indebtedness of developing countries. President Ramaphosa has welcomed the arrest of 4 alleged extortionists in Cape Town, and a man suspected of being involved in a cash-in-transit robbery in KZN has been arrested at a police roadblock. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the Springboks will host the All Blacks at Emirates Airline Park on Saturday, 5 minutes past 5, with extensive road closures and traffic restrictions in place around the venue. The N1 southbound in Fourways is queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive exit. The N12 eastbound in Germiston has a stationary vehicle after the Edenvale Road exit. In Bedfordview, the N3 northbound is slow moving. That's on the link to the N12 east at Giluli's interchange, and the N12 R24 westbound queuing on both routes towards Giluli's interchange. In KZN, the N2 southbound in Mpangeni has truck stacking reported towards the R34 Richards Bay exit with delays possible. The N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg has heavy traffic between Howick and Hilton. The N3 eastbound has a crash reported, as well as a stationary vehicle at Cliffdale, and Chris Hani Road westbound is queuing at the N2 highway. In the Free State, the N3 northbound has a truck fire incident reported between Warden and Rates exit, traffic moving via contraflow on the southbound carriageway. In Cape Town, Marine Drive outbound in Milnerton is slow moving towards Racecourse Road. The N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound is queuing at Beaufort Circle. The N1 outbound queuing towards Okavango Road. The M5 Prince George Drive has protesting reported at Retreat. The roads closed, causing heavy traffic on local routes throughout the area. The M5 southbound slow moving towards Racecourse Road, and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, Tumi, it's a big, busy sporting weekend. What's your priority?
Absolutely, and the big one is
I
the
want my
rugby.
tickets, by the way. I can't get my rugby tickets. Yeah.
Yep, talking about rugby, that is the big one, the Rugby Championship, and I'm going to talk about the impact of the Rugby Championship that, with it coming up tomorrow, the city of Johannesburg and various role players have gone out of their way to make sure that Ellis Park Precinct has a big makeover ahead of the Rugby Championship test. It was done at a cost of around 6 million rand and will certainly contribute to a more enjoyable experience for the spectators. The 62,000 rugby fans expected at the venue tomorrow can look forward to an enjoyable experience inside and outside. The public park created for the 20 2010 FIFA World Cup has been rejuvenated, and almost 400 solar tracking lights have been fitted around the area to offer better security. And obviously it was done with the blessings of the community. And now, as we all know, the Ellis Park train station is back in full use for the first time in over 20 years. So whoever is going to watch the game live tomorrow, make sure you enjoy yourself to the utmost being, because all those rejuvenation or renovations were done thinking about this test that is coming up tomorrow.
And my tickets. No. Okay, carry on.
Well, and then moving on to football, Stellenbosch FC coach Steve Barker says that he is expecting Mamelodi Sundowns' new Brazilian striker Arthur Sales to start up front in Sunday's MTN 8 semi-final second leg. The lanky forward looked sharp when he came off the bench in the first leg at Lucas Moripe Stadium on Wednesday, seeing his two clear-cut chances saved by Stelli's goalkeeper and man of the match, Sage Stevens. Barker, however, says that he is aware that Downs will come out the blocks firing as they need to overturn the 1-0 deficit at the Moses Mabhida Stadium this weekend.
It's difficult to predict. I think a player like Saleh showed, the little bit of minutes that he had, how good a player is. Obviously at sometimes you sort of blood new players in, especially foreign players. Maybe they didn't start this evening, but I do think now that he had minutes, there's a strong possibility that he starts the game. I think Temba's always been their talisman. It was possible that he sort of gets a start, but I don't want to think too far ahead.
Elsewhere, Chelsea are expected to reach an agreement with Manchester United to sign Jadon Sancho before the transfer window closes. The 24-year-old former Borussia Dortmund forward is keen on a proposed move to Stamford Bridge. He returned to United first team training earlier this season for the first time since September 2023 after refusing to apologise to manager Erik ten Hag following a dispute. He was, however, left out of the squad for both of United's opening games of the Premier League, and ten Hag was just saying that it was because he has an ear infection, and now he says he looks to go to Chelsea, and it seems like it might just happen. In netball, Proteas Gold Tech Kamogelo Maseko says their upcoming Spa Challenge is a good platform for players to get game time and set the tone for future test series. Coach Jenny van Dijk's Chargers have just recently returned from a week-long camp at Brixton Indoor Training Centre. Maseko says, judging from the outcomes during the camp, the national team is all set and ready to gain experience when they host their opponents at Ellis Park in October.
I think, especially for us as Spa Proteas, I think the Spa Challenge is like a good platform to set us up for, international test series match. It just gives us the opportunity to get more game time, and it also just, gives us the surety and the assurance that Spa has our back, So I think we go into the World Cup comfortably, knowing that we have prepared well enough in advance, and we have, received exposure. So I just think, the Spa Challenge just sets the tone in terms of preparation and in terms of, just giving us a platform to get more game time, to, get more caps and just gain more experience as Spa Protea players.
On that note, it's a wrap from my side. I'll be back again on Monday.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with about anything. All I can say, it's the Springboks against the All Blacks. There are two MTN games, quarters, and it's Man United Liverpool.
Yes.
And I still want my Springbok ticket tomorrow. That's all I want to say. We'll talk on Monday. Perfect.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's Elimination Week and the bottom 6 must bake their ultimate cookie and milkshake pairing. It's a match made in heaven, but will they perfect their flavor combinations under pressure? Take part in the weekly viewers competition and stand a chance of winning a classic stand mixer to the value of 10,000 Rand. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading lens enhancements. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Book online or call your nearest store today. Specsavers for affordable eye care and a whole lot more. T's and C's apply.
Only the final whistle can reveal who are the real football kings of East Africa. Neighbors won't get along during the East African Derby. This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Tanzania takes on Ethiopia on Wednesday, 4 September at 6 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, we have 15 more minutes of Naledi Pandor coming up shortly. But for now, once again, let's talk about the markets with the SFM Market Update, as always, with Jimmy Moya. Jimmy, good chatting to you, as always. What's moving markets today?
Under a bit of pressure from the local side of things. I think just the last trading day of the month had some selling off on the local markets. International markets were all in the green. SA markets, the only red equities markets to speak of. All share was down about 0.5% for the day, with the top 40 down 0.2%. But despite this, we're still finishing up the month of August in the green. Quick look at how the currency is performing at the moment. 17.77 against the US dollar, about 0.1% weaker, but far more positive than where we were at the start of the month, above 18 Rand. So we're up about 3% on the Rand-dollar exchange pair there. So the Rand's gained about 3% against the dollar. Against the euro, it's currently sitting at about 19 Rand 65. 1 British pound is 23 Rand 34 cents, gaining grounds against both those currencies. If we look at some of the commodities movements, the gold price much weaker, almost 1% off for the day. Brent crude as well, down about 2% at $77.05 a barrel. All of the other metals seemingly also having a bearish day, and if we look at some of the big leading leading drags on our local indices, it was the platinum counters. They had a very rough end to the week and to the month. We've got quite a few things to look forward to next week and next month. We've got interest rate conversations, we've got GDP conversations, but we'll dig into these in the early week. We know that Monday we won't have US data because the US has Labor Day, but for now it's got a bit of a mixed close to the end of the week, but a close positive to the end of the month, and that's what we'll take.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that, Jimmy. You have a great weekend. No show today, no market show. I know it's all about weekend in sports, so thank you. We'll talk on Monday. We will talk to Naledi Pandor after this.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so what we'll do, let's get some calls. By the way, it's the Fireside Chat. Every Friday we do this. We'll see who we talk to next week, right? But every Friday we do this. We chat with someone, and we just chill. We go all over the place. You know, something serious, something light, and something very, very different that we occupy ourselves with in this very sort of formal, informal conversation, right? In fact, we've got some calls. So Solly's there in Cape Town. Hi, Solly.
Hi, Ashraf. Good afternoon to you. And to my dear sister Naledi, good afternoon to you.
Good
afternoon. I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank you for your lifetime service to what you've done for us and your entire family. You have just been a beacon of light, and never despair. Let people do what they want. You are the star and the light that South Africa needed, and you've done a tremendous job, Ashraf. You are very lucky to be having her there today.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I am. It's like, it's an absolute honor. There's no question about that.
I mean, she's a beacon of life, and one thing she's achieved, which nobody did in 75 years, is to show the world what is really happening. So well done, my sister Naledi. God bless you.
Here we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Solly, thanks for that. Thanks for that call. Let's get another one. Sintu in Midrand. Hi, welcome to the show.
Are you?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm well.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, man. Two things, man. And I just want to find out, man, from the former minister, the posture or the stance of the Democratic Alliance in relation to Palestine issue and Israel. because we know the position of the DA in relation to these issues. Now, since they are in government, now how do you reconcile the two? And secondly, is it true that when she wanted to resign, the president tried to pay? These are the two things that I wanted to find out.
We'll get a response just now, Sintu. Well, okay, we'll do that in a minute or two. But perhaps you may want to respond to that as Dr. Naledi Pandor, or just Naledi Pandor, as you've suggested we should talk to you about, to that point about the shift in terms of, ANC position, DA position, and you resigning. You asked to stick around?
Well, on the position, it's the position of government. It was reiterated yesterday by President Ramaphosa that the government is proceeding with the case. The legal team remains in place and is busy preparing papers for the major part of the case. Remember, all that has been dealt with just thus far are the requests for provisional measures. The key question of genocide, which has been alleged by South Africa on the basis of a wide range of evidence, is still to be heard by the court. And the lawyers are busy preparing the documents related to that. There are countries that have joined South Africa in the case: Namibia, Nicaragua, Spain has indicated support, Ireland, and thus the number of countries that will make submissions in support of our belief is increasing on a regular basis.
Okay.
So the position of government remains as articulated yesterday.
All right. I want to talk to you about. I'll talk to you about government specifically in terms of where you see it in the few minutes we have remaining just now. So maybe just put that on pause. There's a few voice notes I want to play very quickly. Here's one.
Hey, Ashraf, will you please ask Naledi if she thinks the current cabinet will take the same stance as in regarding the matter of Palestine, like the previous cabinet? Thanks, it's Bongi here.
Thank you, Bongi. Well, I think at the moment you've just heard that the position is at the moment that has clearly not changed. In fact, the president pronounced on it yesterday.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon, Minister, former Minister. Well, I just call to convey my sincere appreciation of the sterling work for putting South Africa on the map and the values it represents. Thank you so much. Major from Kotema.
Okay, there we are. Nice one. Here's a last one I'll play now.
Ashraf, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ashraf. May you please ask former Minister Naledi Pandor that why is it that they are more focused on Palestine, Israel, instead of African countries? For an example, there is Zimbabwe there is DRC, there is the Lesotho, who are always like fighting each other, and their parliaments is ruled by the autocratic leaders. It's Jacob from Germiston. Please ask former Minister Naledi Pandor.
Okay, so yeah. So maybe you want to just respond to those. You got like about 40 seconds to respond to all three of them, if you can. Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, I didn't respond to, I think it was Sintu. I never had any intention to resign. So, I'm not back in Parliament by virtue of the ANC not having sufficient number of votes to allow those on the list below, I think, 79 to get into Parliament. So it was also a good opportunity for me to graduate from politics. I thank those callers who have made positive comments. And then on the question of why Palestine and not Africa, this is not true. We have a very strong focus on the African continent. It is the key policy focus of the government of South Africa. We've done a lot of work with Lesotho. They're now in the process of writing a new constitution. They had elections under a new electoral law. All of that resulted from the work that South Africa had done, led by President Ramaphosa as facilitator, supported by Judge Dikgang Moseneke, retired justice, and of course the department I led, International Relations and Cooperation.
Okay.
We are deeply involved in the DRC, in Mozambique, in a range of issues. So it's not accurate to say that we don't have an interest in Africa. And of course, we had BRICS last year. We'll be hosting G20 as chair next year. All of this has been done while I was in office, and I know the new government will continue with these focus areas.
All right, I'll tell you what I'll do then.
But
what we'll do...
I do want to say that South Africans must also always recall that when we were suffering oppression under apartheid, we approached and persuaded the whole world that they must stand with us in solidarity against the evil that was apartheid.
Right, what I'll do...
So we cannot neglect others today.
I think it's a good point. What I'll do is I'm going to take advantage of this and say, let's pause on your work in international relations, because there's really not enough time. But all it means is maybe we can have another half an hour conversation some other time, just purely about international relations, maybe even an hour, some other time. And I'll invite you now so you know that, right? What we can do is I want to get into some of the more personal issues about your life and basically what has always been your purpose, which we'll do right after this.
Every day, our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn, and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org.
The Mediterranean Knights are after the big prize, a win in the opener of the AFCON qualifier. But Amavubi differs and insists on traveling back home with a massive bag of 3 points. This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Libya versus Rwanda on Wednesday, 4 September at 6 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So the fireside chat with Naledi Pandor continues. Now you were saying earlier on, right, that when you've had, moments of vilification from others, at least you've always had family support. But let me spin it around. I mean, the one hand you support, your family supports you, but I would take it as well that you're supportive of them, right? I mean, in essence, how would you describe your relationship? Maybe one word to talk about the connection between you and your core family.
Loving unity.
There we are. 2 words, but I'll take it. Loving unity. Well, I'll tell you, we've got someone on the line. Let's see who that is, right? Hi, you're live on the air.
Hi, Ashraf. This is Aisha speaking. How are you?
Yeah, well, did you hear your mum say, did you hear what she just said?
Yes, indeed. Loving unity.
Okay.
And she's
there you
right,
are.
Absolutely.
You see what happens. You just say loving unity and we get your daughter on the line from the USA. So I thought I should take a back seat.
Walaikum salam, Mom. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Okay.
So lovely to hear your voice. Missing you.
Well, there you are. So we thought, Aisha, maybe tell us one really special thing about your mother. In fact, you've been glowing in your acknowledgements for her, right? But just one thing that you can leave us with.
I think how progressive my mom is in terms of what she's like as a parent and as a person. I think she's, when she says unity, loving unity, I think love is at the core of our family, but unity also, and just she's an incredibly accepting person, and our experience of her as a mother has been of someone who just encourages you to in a values-based way, but really find yourself as a person and live out your life in a way that's true to that. So she's just, I think, progressive as a parent, accepting and again, very loving.
Well, beautiful. Let's get Mummy to respond to that. Go ahead.
It's very kind of Aisha. I think I'm really fortunate. I'm blessed with 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and I have a loving husband, Sharif, and we have a great partnership. So really, and he's much more gentle than I am. I can be really tough and horrible.
Well, I've had the privilege of meeting him as well, and yes,
my colleagues know. But the children have been a great source of joy. Sometimes difficult times have arisen. I always think of those evenings, I don't know if you've had to do this, where, you have to drive, they've got a friend's birthday party, and you're really tired, you just want to rest, but you must drop your children and you've got to go and pick them up.
Well, we've all had that at midnight, yes, something along that line.
And I've done that, and they've always been good when I've said you must be waiting at the gate when I get there, and we're going straight home. So
well, there you are.
It's been great. Sometimes it was too much, but it was always wonderful.
I can imagine. Aisha, listen, we're going to give you the chance to ask one question, but don't waste it now. Ask something really special, okay?
So Ashraf, I'm gonna be very cheeky and try and ask 2 very quick questions.
Okay,
so the one, when my mom started her career in government, she was around the same age as I am now, and I reflect on that. And so I want to ask her, after 3 decades, what are some of the things that, what are some of the biggest lessons she's learned, and maybe how has she changed in terms of her personality and working style? So that's the first one. And then the second one, yes, my mom was incredibly strict growing up. And I want to ask her, why are parents so much less strict as grandparents? She's a very, very relaxed grandparent. So what happens between parenting and grandparenting?
Well, there you are. Good.
More
good
of a
question.
joking one, but they're the 2 questions.
All right, go. That's beautiful. Go ahead. Response?
Well, I think what I learned from my work, particularly in politics, was to understand policy formation, and also to learn to deal with people who had very, very different ideas from you, and to engage with that without creating enmity or polarization that would divide public representatives or indeed our nation. I also learned to be better organized as a worker. I got to really understand the value of a diary. I began using a diary as an MP when I was a teacher. I was kind of locked into the school time and agenda. But with a multifaceted role in Parliament, I really had to be far better organized. And lastly, I learned how to find women's toilets, because there weren't many in Parliament when we first arrived there. And so, we had to agitate for women to be recognized as a presence in Parliament through creating many more facilities for women MPs.
Well, there you are. All right. Does that answer? I think that does answer all of Aisha's comments. Well, maybe
on grandchildren,
very quickly.
They're just lovely.
Well, there you are.
You love them more because you know that they're not yours. They won't stay forever.
Well, there you are. All right, Aisha, I'm going to say goodbye to you, right? Because we've got about 3 minutes to wrap up. We could probably have spoken for 2 hours, right? And I'll go back to Naledi Panda. It was wonderful chatting to Aisha, who's in Silicon Valley
Thanks,
with making waves in the innovation space, as she's done in South Africa, right? Which this just as we wrap up now, this just gets me to ask you a question. Is there a who would you like to share a seat at the table with? Like somebody you've never sat with, but you'd love to.
Wow, gosh, I can't imagine. Probably the president of Nigeria. Because I'd love to really ask, what's wrong with South Africa and Nigeria? and how can we get it right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, as someone who does lots of public speaking myself, emceeing, program directing, I'm always drawn to people who are so articulate, and you've always been that. I mean, how have you developed that presence?
Well, thank you. That's so kind of you to say that. Really, I think it's just that I've had so many opportunities, but secondly, I prepare. I don't just speak without preparing. I write my notes and I do it myself. I do it in pen. I type it, correct it. I ask someone to read. So I'm pretty fussy about what I'm going to say in public.
Okay, incredibly. We've got a minute to go, so I'm going to rush these questions with very quick answers, right? Give me a book that you suggest we must read.
Well, currently I'm reading a really interesting book by a gentleman called George Yeo, who was a former Minister of Communication of Singapore and then served as Foreign Affairs. The book is called Musings, and it's essentially about his life, but it's about the world as well because of his experience in government and many other roles. So I found it a fascinating treatise on Singapore, on China, the emerging China, the current China, and on East Asia.
Okay. What's the one thing South Africa must get right?
Serving the people.
Yeah, it's a good point. And the last thing, a name of a young South African we should look out for? Like I'm asking you to name drop.
I'm just trying to, because Lunga did tell me you may ask this question. And it's a young woman who's a nuclear physicist. Her name has just gone from my head, but she's absolutely incredible. And she's currently in Vienna, representing our country in an amazing conference on nuclear science. I'm just trying to
if we
find her name.
You can give it to us. We'll tweet it out when we get it right. You got in 10 seconds. How would Naledi Pandor like to be remembered? And that's my last question.
That I sought to serve our country and our people, and I never blemished the name of my family.
Oh, there you are, and I think you've always done that. Appreciate your time. All it means we need to have another chat about some of the big political issues in South Africa and around the world. Great having you as part of this fireside chat. Great privilege indeed, as always. Dr. Naledi Pandor, the not so honorable, that's all gone now. It's just Naledi Pandor. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Right here. Bye-bye. Well, there you are. Just gone 1 minute past 6. That's the fireside chat. We'll have a podcast up. Absolutely. Let's get the news now. Here's Greg Kroos.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Court rules in GNU case and concern over developing nation's debt. Good evening. Former President Jacob Zuma and the MK Party's challenge of the SABC's use of the term Government of National Unity, or GNU, has been struck for want of urgency in the High Court in Johannesburg. The applicants, Zuma and the MK Party, have further been directed to seek a special allocation. This follows the court's judgment, which revealed that the court wasn't satisfied that the matter can be dealt with in an urgent court, nor that it's in the interests of justice to deal with this matter on an urgent basis. The president of the New Development Bank